Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Welcome to the latest episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's hard to hold it together right now. We often come on and say, man, the show before the show was maybe better than anything we could ever do. And today was a record breaker. I mean, I'm not going to say a peep about what we were discussing. Nobody's getting anything out of me. The discussion will never leave this room and the 7 people who have been here. But and it's so kind of mean for me to tease the fans like this. But,
it's unbelievable.
you would have all been laughing your ass off for the last 5 minutes. Let's keep it at that.
I also have both of my vehicles here now today.
That's true.
I have because
we should tell that story.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So last week on Friday, I got the flat driving in here, and we told that story. And I got 2 flat tires on my car.
Right.
Well, I couldn't, during the show, I was trying to get AAA to come out, and I kept saying, you got to call. I'm like, why do I got to call? So after the show, I called. Apparently, my AAA membership lapsed, and I was not aware of this. So I paid, the fee or whatever to, but it had lapsed by a couple of months. Yeah. So I needed, a whole new account. And they said, okay, well, we're also going to charge you an extra $100 for the tow now. I'm like, what? And they said, if you try and actually use the membership within a week of signing up, which I get, they whack you with a $100 tow fee.
So most people would just say, well, I guess I got to do it. I need my car. Not Jason.
No. Out of spite, that car will sit there for a week until I can actually use. And the only reason I can get away with it is because my wife had surgery last week, so she can't drive. Right. So her car's available. I'm like, I'm just going to drive her car for a week. So my car is still in the Channel 3 garage,
save $100,
where it will stay until Friday, when I can then call AAA and say, it's been a week, come get my car. Right. I just saved $100.
You have to go literally 1 minute after you joined a week later?
Well, we're going to find that out.
Yeah.
Because I joined on Friday.
I guess.
It's $100.
But we got a little breaking news.
Breaking news to start the show. What do we got?
Mike Gesicki, the tight end, signing a 1-year, $3.5 million deal with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh, interesting. I thought it was Browns.
You broke into my story for a Bengals signing?
The Bengals, every year, they sign a wide receiver of his ilk, right? They had C.J. Uzomah there for a couple of years.
Says the Browns signed Jameis.
They haven't yet. We'll get to that in a minute. So they had him for a couple of years. Then they signed Hayden Hurst. Then last year they signed Irv Smith.
You got that privacy thing. I can't see your phone.
You can't see it.
Oh, now I can.
What is that? You saying the Browns have signed Jameis?
That's what it says.
Wait a second.
Who? I don't see that.
Jordan Schultz.
It's not a fake one? Hold on. We're waiting to confirm.
Maybe unless I got a...
There's a lot of fakes out there, Tyvis. You got to be careful.
It could be.
2 minutes ago, it does say Jameis Winston close to finalizing a 1-year deal worth $8.7 million with the Browns.
See?
So we'll wait till now. Jordan Schultz is pretty accurate.
Jordan Schultz is legit. But I haven't seen anybody else tweet it. I'm
gonna wait. Well,
I'm not seeing his tweet.
Let me do a read real quick while we wait to confirm this. But obviously, we'll break into that as soon as we find some confirmation. But it looks like Jameis Winston could be headed back to the Cleveland Browns to be Deshaun's backup. But before that, say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the NCAA tournament. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and bet on college hoops until they cut the nets down. Today's winning ticket comes to us via Scott Prisbiz, and he turned $10 into $1,400 on this massive NBA same-game parlay between the Lakers and the Bucks from a few days ago. $10 into $1,400. Scott Prisbiz, congratulations. If you have a winning ticket,
Scott.
Make sure you send it to us as well.
All right, so this is legit. We've confirmed it now. Jordan Schultz, breaking news. Free agent quarterback Jameis Winston is close to finalizing a 1-year deal worth up to $8.7 million with the Browns. That's a lot of money for a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Sources tell Bleacher Report, Winston fielded interest from multiple teams and decided this morning that he is going to Cleveland. So we'll get to all the stuff we were going to get to.
Let's start this
the show, but we got to begin with the breaking news of Jameis Winston, guys. Quarterback 2 conversation was coming up.
I would change that ticker at the bottom. I don't know if that's...
Yeah, he hasn't signed with the Browns. Okay. It's not a done deal. He said he's close to signing, so we do want to clarify that.
PFF is now confirming the report as well.
Okay.
Or just multiple... according to Schultz.
Well, but that's
we'll change it to report. Report Jameis Winston.
They're referencing Schultz. It's not, and he didn't say it's definite yet, but anyway, it doesn't matter. He's close to signing. And usually when they're close to signing, it gets done. You rarely hear somebody say close to signing and then it doesn't happen.
For the assumption of this conversation, let's assume Jameis Winston is coming to Cleveland with QB2 now.
Yes.
Whether or not it's officially official as of 11
well, nothing's officially official till tomorrow afternoon anyway, but it looks like Jameis is coming to the Browns, so it will not be Joe Flacco coming back. Instead, they go to Jameis. And it seems to me that unless Joe Flacco has an opportunity to start somewhere, which seems unlikely, that the Browns have chosen Jameis over Joe Flacco.
Clearly.
Yeah. So, what do you think of that?
I'm okay with it. I was the one saying I don't think you can bring Joe back for a variety of reasons. I was not comfortable with bringing, aside from the locker room component, which is real. Like, you and I have talked about that. It's a real thing.
It's fact.
Yeah. But even beyond that, and the fact that, like, the city, and this was lower on the list, but the city loved Joe Flacco, and they don't like Deshaun. And that's a really bad spot to put your starting quarterback in.
Yes.
But aside from that, the fact that we believe they're going to overhaul this offense, how does Joe Flacco fit the offense that we think that they're going to try and install here? He doesn't. That guy does. Jameis does. Jameis fits the offense so much better. He throws a ton of interceptions. I certainly wouldn't want Jameis as my starting quarterback, but as a backup, I'm okay with that. I'm surprised. The money on this is what's a little...
That's a lot of money for a backup.
Well, Jacoby signs for 8, up to 10 in New England. That's a lot of money. And then who just went? The other backup, Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor 2 years, $8 million.
Went to the Jets.
What
and Sam Darnold to Minnesota, although he's going to maybe start.
And it's $10 million. And Tyrod, I think, was right around the same money. So this is
Marcus Mariota got $6 million.
Yeah, and that just happened today.
Well, listen, the cap is up. Yesterday, Jay and Earl were trying to argue that teams are making more of a priority of a backup quarterback. I don't know that that's necessarily true, but you could argue that this is part of it, is that a little more money is being spent on. Now, I think a little more money is being spent on everybody right now.
See,
because the cap
the point I was making when Jay and I were talking about this during the season and how backup quarterbacks can become a priority, my question was, well, where are these guys going to come from? Like, these are the same guys.
It's the same guys. That's what was my argument yesterday.
Yeah, it's the same names. It's the same pool you're fishing in.
You're just paying them more.
They're just getting a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Because of the cap spike, I think.
Now, by the way, Jameis is not a runner.
No, but he's mobile. He's mobile.
I guess. I mean, listen. Anybody,
no? Am I wrong?
I don't think of him as not at this point. I mean, he's more mobile than Flacco.
What do you consider?
He's more mobile than Flacco.
Yeah, anybody's more mobile than Flacco.
But that's my point. Is Joe?
Don't make it. I don't want you to put it out there like he. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, he's not Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
Okay? But he can move in the pocket. He can move around better than Joe can.
We see him doing the heavy bag.
Although Joe was actually a little bit more mobile than I gave him credit for when he was here. He actually surprised me with how well he could move.
What do you think about this, Tyvus? I know when we were talking before the show, you thought the Browns were better off bringing Flacco back.
Yeah, I mean, just for the fact that you got a guy that the locker room already loves and embraced already. He's won games there. And if Deshaun went down, everybody will be comfortable. Now, don't get me wrong, Jameis Winston can secure that type of security and that type of win this locker room over with his play. Obviously, you know one thing about James, he's gonna sling the ball. And on top of that, if you got some type of bonus that you close to hitting, he gonna see to it that you get it. I mean, you remember the Falcons game, he decided to get his running back another touchdown and secure a bonus. So that right there is a man of the people. I'm okay with it. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm riding on number 4 having a really good season and being healthy anyways. But Jameis could be a guy that comes in there and gets the voice of the locker room. I tell you what, it does go back to my point about the ethnicity of the quarterback room in Korea.
Meaning what?
He's black.
Yes.
The whole room is black.
Yeah, that's the second time that's happened. That was like that a couple years ago when they had
Black and
Deshaun.
mobile. That's what I said, but
That sounds like a song. Everybody's black and mobile. Black and mobile.
They had Deshaun.
Isn't there a song like that?
And
Nobody wants to see me doing this, but
PJ?
still.
no,
Riding dirty is what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Dobbs.
oh yeah,
Yeah. Listen, I still think Flacco was the way to go, but I got zero problem with Jameis Winston. My first reaction when I saw this rumor yesterday was, oh no, Jameis and Watson in the same locker room? I don't like that. And then, decided, I actually Googled, has Jameis grown up in recent years? That was my Google, yeah. And so I started reading articles about him over the last few years, and the consensus seems to be that he has matured in a big-time way. He came off as very immature in college at Florida State and his first couple of years in the NFL. But as he's grown up and been seasoned around the league, it seems like he has not only matured as a player, but as a person as well. And from everything I read in recent years in New Orleans, he was extremely popular with the team, a great teammate, and so there you go. The one thing I'll say about not bringing Flacco back, and I don't know this, Jason, and maybe you could speak to this, or maybe you can't. It seemed to me, first of all, two things here. Jameis at this point in his career seems comfortable being a backup.
Clearly.
Right? I mean, he's been a backup for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
Joe Flacco still thinks he's a starter.
yes.
And he went out and proved it.
And he did for at least 5 games.
Yeah.
So, number 2, clearly, that's not fair. I shouldn't say clearly. I had a sense that maybe Deshaun and Joe Flacco weren't that friendly. Now, I don't know this. It was just a sense, whispers in the breeze. Not that they were unfriendly, just that there was not a connection between those two.
Yeah.
And maybe, I'm not saying, I don't know what Watson has any relationship with Jameis Winston. At least with somebody new, maybe there's a chance for a better connection there.
To be honest with you, they're really doing Joe Flacco a favor by bringing in Jameis Winston. Joe Flacco wants to be a starter. I mean, he's
Probably is he going to be?
Listen.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Joe Flacco wants to be a starter. If he signs to Cleveland, they are committed to Deshaun Watson. That's just what it is. No matter what, they're going to be committed. As long as number 4 is healthy, he's going out there. Over the course of a season, as we watch this past season, quarterbacks get hurt left and right. Who's the guy now, after performing the way that he's performed, who's going to be a phone call that these teams will make once their quarterback goes down? Joe Flacco. He just went out there and won comeback player of the year. So I think they're really doing him a service by not bringing him and making him a backup quarterback, giving him the option to sign with other teams. He probably got to play the waiting game, which is unfortunate.
You don't think he's going to get an opportunity in the next couple days?
Well, see, the teams that I thought that he would go to have signed. Like, I always thought that he would go somewhere where he'll be a bridge quarterback. He'll start for this year, but they drafted a quarterback in the first round, and then he grooms for a year. Somewhere midway through the season, the other quarterback takes over. You know, the normal thing. But a lot of those teams have made those signings of the quarterbacks already, so I don't know exactly where he.
Yeah, I mean, with Jacoby going to New England in that situation, Sam Darnold going to Minnesota, right? I mean, who's left? Would he go back to Denver? Maybe they don't really have. I mean, their top quarterback's Jarrett Stidham right now.
I mean, could think of that.
Now, there's been rumors that the Giants might cut Daniel Jones. Maybe he'd be a fit with the Giants potentially if they cut him. I don't know. I don't see. The Raiders signed Gardner Minshew, and they paid him really lower-tier starter money, so he's probably going to start there.
I mean,
I don't think there's any other options for him to start.
What's going to happen to Justin Fields? Because that plays into the Flacco conversation.
We're still trying to figure it out.
There's no landing spot that I see.
Yeah, everybody got signed.
He's fallen into the Baker spot where the Browns were with Baker.
Right.
What are you going to do with him?
Right. Maybe that's where Denver comes in the mix. I don't know.
And you would think Fields has to move before Joe can sign. So he might be shut out again.
Yeah.
And to your point, I mean, I try and be very clear in what I know and what I think, right? And how many times did I come into the studio and say, there's just something weird between Flacco and Deshaun? Like, how many times did I come in
a lot
on Mondays? And I don't want to make a big deal about it during the season, because then you just look like a shit stirrer, and you're trying to create something that isn't there. And the cameras caught like the one time that they chest bumped on the sideline or whatever, and everybody latched onto that. Oh, look at this. This is great. I'm like, okay, well, I'm watching with the binoculars, and these two dudes are standing right next to each other, and Joe's turned that way talking to PJ, and Deshaun's turned that way, and they ain't talking at all. So I'm not saying there was a rift between them because I don't think that there was, but I'm sure it was uncomfortable for everybody involved because to your point, Flacco thinks he can still play this league. He's trying to compete for a starting job, and I'm sure it was uncomfortable for Deshaun, no matter what he says, to see the city embrace Joe the way that they did, to see him have the success that he did. I'm sure it was a little bit uncomfortable. You want your team to do well, but at the same time, you're looking out for yourself. So for a ton of reasons, I think this is absolutely the best way to go. I was never in favor of bringing Joe back, and that doesn't mean I didn't like the job that he did. I thought Flacco was terrific. Of course, in a vacuum, in a fantasy football roster, of course you would love to have Joe Flacco as your backup quarterback. But this is real life with real human emotions and things that play into this that go well beyond what your roster looks like. I think this is the right move. I'm just surprised at the money.
Maybe one of these is this situation is more so Joe wanted the Browns more than the Browns wanted Joe.
That's exactly what it was.
Because, you know, it went from just listening to Joe over the course of this offseason. It went from, I want to go to a place where I'm a starter. Then it went to, all things equal, I would love to go back to Cleveland. Then it just started going more towards Cleveland. Like, I want to go back to Cleveland type thing.
So I think he saw the
opportunities. And I think that's what it was. But to be honest with you, he played some of his best ball outside of the Ravens. He played his best ball with Kevin Stefanski.
Yes, he did.
And it's like, I finally got an OC that lets me, that me and him connect and we get it. So, of course, I want to go back to the place that I thrive, but
and now they're
changing the course. So that's why I'm like, you know.
And in defense of the rest of the league, I think the rest of the league is looking at this as like, this guy wasn't good for 10 years. So are we going to look at the last 10 years of film, or are we going to look at the 5 games where he was an absolute perfect fit with what they wanted to do? Unless you're running that exact offense, which Joe are you going to get? You're probably going to get 10 years, not 5 games.
I never thought it made sense that Joe would be able to get a starting job again.
Yeah.
But clearly he's good enough to be a backup still in the league.
Sure.
I mean, there's no debate 100%. There. But when it all comes down to it in the end, Jameis Winston is one of the best backups. I mean, let's face it, Jameis Winston is one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the league. If you had to start the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, he'd start. He'd be near the bottom, but he'd start. There's no way there's 32 guys better than him. He's probably somewhere between 27 and 32.
Him or Sam Howell.
I'd probably go with Jameis.
There's more of a track record on Jameis, but same situation.
Sam Howell's younger,
high
but
risk, high reward guys.
I don't know. And when Jameis played in New Orleans, at times he played all right, and he had cut down the interception
Once
numbers.
he got the LASIK surgery, you know, he wasn't throwing them as bad as he was. He wasn't going 30 for 30 like he was in Tampa Bay.
Right.
But
that was crazy.
It's a little. He was a great fantasy quarterback.
Oh, he was. It's a little surprising to me that he's never been given any kind of opportunity to at least compete for a starting job since Tampa. It's been a while, but
New Orleans, wasn't he? Didn't he have
I thought he competed in New Orleans.
Yeah.
I would have
when last year.
No, they had before they traded for Derek Carr.
His first year.
The in between.
He was starting.
He got started.
He ended up getting hurt. Jameis was starting.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, he
did
was
start that year.
Yeah,
that's my bad. You're right.
Going back over the last 4
games.
seasons, by the way, he did throw 14 touchdowns to 3 interceptions 2 years ago. The last 2 seasons, or 3 seasons ago, the last 2 seasons,
surgery.
In very limited time, more turnovers than touchdowns. But I asked the YouTube chat, given the choice, if it was just Flacco versus Jameis, who would you rather have at quarterback 2? We have over 550 votes.
Joe Flacco.
What do you think the percentage
Joe
is?
Flacco.
We have a lot of homers, so it's going to be.
They pick Joe.
What do you think?
65%.
I'd be shocked if they say
for Jameis.
Jason?
Well,
you
said for Jameis, Bowl?
Yeah.
I think they'll trust whatever the Browns do.
That's right. Whoever the Browns chose, that was what going to be the majority of people voted for, I think.
What say you?
I think they pick Joe.
You think so?
52% to 48% in favor of Joe Flacco.
Wow.
Okay,
Close.
but let me tell you something. If we had put up that same poll 24 hours ago, who would you prefer?
100%.
It would have been 90% Joe Flacco.
That's a fact.
Yes.
That's a fact.
And maybe not 90, 80, whatever. It would have been. But now that Browns picked Jameis, so.
Also, all the local reporters, Jake Trotter, Mary Kay, The Athletic, have confirmed that they are nearing a deal. Jameis Winston will be the Browns' backup quarterback in 2020.
Did your boy get picked up yet? DJ Reader?
Not yet, no. No, not
We're
unless
going to
it's
talk
happened
about
in the
him.
last
No,
20
he has not
minutes.
signed today yet.
We'll get
and
to
we're
some of
gonna
those
talk
other
about him in a little
things.
bit.
Real quick,
Because
though.
he could be on the Browns' radar, too, I would think.
If you just observe the order that this went,
Yeah.
it seems clear to me Jacoby was their primary, and Jacoby, the money, if you're going to pay Jameis 8-7, you're probably willing to pay Jacoby 8 with us.
Hey, Jason, 1 sec. It's up to 8-7. So I'm not sure what the base deal is. It's up to 8-7. So maybe
that makes a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
But
still,
we're in the same neighborhood.
Maybe Jacoby wasn't the Browns' first choice.
I don't think he was.
Maybe
Browns weren't Jacoby's first
right,
choice.
Exactly.
I mean, AVP going to New England, he probably will have an opportunity to start. Maybe
Right.
I'm sure they're going to draft a guy, but he'll be in that same role of a mentor and everything else he's comfortable with. He's around an offensive coordinator that he's clearly comfortable with.
And he spent more time in New England than here.
Yeah, so it's a good situation for him. So
Yeah.
clearly he chose New England. The Browns were waiting on that. When Jacoby chose New England, the Browns pivoted to Jameis, and Flacco very clearly was their third option in all of this, which I don't think is a bad thing.
Who, if you had to win 3 games during the regular season, Jameis or Jacoby?
Jameis.
Me too.
Yeah. Yeah,
You too, Mike?
probably.
I mean, I think there's a higher upside and a lower basement in Jameis. Brissett's kind of the middle. But I'm always taking the guy with higher upside in the back quarterback spot.
How much upside does Jameis still have at this point? Who knows?
With this offense, if it's going to be a high passing offense, Jameis.
Yeah.
I don't think you're signing Jameis based on upside. He is what he is, and you know what he is, but he's a capable NFL quarterback. Frankly, I'm a little surprised that they got him. I would think that, again, he would try and go to a Denver or a New England or something. And maybe those options weren't out there for him.
I don't know. I don't know why. I can't believe the Vikings are going to start Sam Darnold. That's crazy to me. By the way, somebody. What?
Talking about the guy out of that draft, the only guy in the first round
Stop
that's
it,
been to
Tyvus.
the Super Bowl.
Next. Stop it.
Lord.
By the way, some reporter tweeted, real quick, and then we'll get back to all the Brown stuff, but some reporter tweeted on the Sam Darnold thing, and I'm going to, believe it or not, I'm about to defend Baker Mayfield, if you can believe that. Some reporter said, maybe Sam Darnold can be this year's Baker Mayfield. Well, that is completely unfair.
Yes.
Baker had success here. Now, it was spotty, and it was up and down, but he had a couple. His rookie season was solid, and the year they went to the playoffs, he was good, especially the back 2/3 of the season. Sam Darnold never did anything. He's never been any good as a starter, ever. That's an unfair comparison.
One last point, then we'll do a read and talk about Jordan Hicks, Za'Darius Smith, and Mo Hurst.
Yeah.
If the offense is going to shift to a more air raid, throw the ball deep like Ken Dorsey's done in the past, Jameis Winston historically throughout his career is ranked near the top of the league. Every year he's played significant time in attempted air yards per target and attempted air yards per attempt. So he fits into that mold, as Jason said earlier, a lot better than – and Flacco was high in the air yards per attempt last season, had not been prior to his stay in Cleveland. So at least Winston fits that potential theoretical scheme change a little better than some
potential
of the other
theoretical.
options.
Let's go. Potential theoretical.
All right, we got a new sponsor alert today, guys. Robinhood is part of the team. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this. Now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. The offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info, you can claim this Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. So check out Robinhood if you're looking to switch your IRA account. The Browns also made 3 signings yesterday. Bull, we're going to run through these individually. Let's start with Jordan Hicks, the linebacker, who is coming to Cleveland from Minnesota on a 2-year, $8 million contract. Like it, love it, hate it. Thoughts on Jordan Hicks?
I like it, guys. Now the one concern obviously is his age. He's going to be 32, I believe, this summer. But he's been a highly productive player. He's been a highly healthy player. Now, you can say, well, that's not fair. He just missed 4 games this past season, which is true, and maybe that's where he's headed. But he played 13 out of 17 games this year. Before this year, he had played 66 out of 66 games the 4 seasons before that, all as a starter. In fact, every game he's played in the NFL, but I think a couple in his rookie year have been as a starter. He's been productive. He's got good numbers both traditionally in terms of tackles. He was 3rd in the Vikings in tackles despite playing 13 games. In fact, he was on pace for his second most tackles in his career last year. before the injury, which was not a serious injury. It was something with his arm. I can't remember what it was. And if you look at the analytics, the PFF, he also has a pretty, solid grade there as well. So to me, it looks like a good move. Again, I'm a little concerned age-wise, but they paid him virtually nothing, and he's a better player than Takitaki or Anthony Walker.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And I'm a little surprised Taki left.
I am too.
I kind of thought he was coming back.
To be honest with you, if you asked me who was the guy that they was going to re-sign, Taki. He's a draft pick. He was productive.
Yeah.
When he left to go, where the Texans, I think?
Let's hold this for now because we're going to get to Takitaki later. But he went to the Patriots.
Yeah, whatever.
But in terms of this move specifically.
Yeah. It is an upgrade. It feels weird saying that. You think this guy's coming back, so you should be happy. And I guess if like it, love it, hate it, I would put it in the like it category.
Yeah, me too.
Good run-stopping middle linebacker, Super Bowl champ. There's another guy in there who can take you, knows the path of where you want to go.
Right. Played for Jim Schwartz.
Yeah. So there's experience there. There's a history there. I mean, I'm a little surprised that this is the way it went, but I'm fine with it.
Davis.
I think that he's here to, one, he's from Ohio, went to Lakota West, so shout out to him, an Ohio kid. I think that this move right here is to really help JOK take it to another level. You need another veteran in there. Takitaki was great, but he was a young guy. He was still learning things. This guy played for Jim Schwartz. He's won with Jim Schwartz, so he knows exactly what Jim Schwartz wants. I think this is probably his last leg, and this is one of those moves that I'm a young vet, but I'm here to play, but also groom up the younger guys and help them get better with my expertise. Yeah. So I think that his knowledge of the game is going to help not just him, but everybody in that linebacker room get better. And I also think that the fact that he will be a voice, because you don't have a voice anymore. Anthony Walker was the guy on defense that had the voice. You don't have that leadership role right now in the linebacker room, and typically every team's starting Mike linebacker is the guy. They wear the green dot, they call out the plays.
Is he definitely going to wear the green dot?
I would think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I would definitely, because he was a captain in Minnesota.
Right.
He's been with Jim Schwartz, so it makes sense that you basically, essentially, you needed another coach on the field. That's what his role will be to me, although he also can be productive. And I just think that's why they went with this move. And we know they don't value linebackers, so they wasn't going to pay him. They probably wasn't going to pay. What did Taki – that we'll talk about it later.
I don't think Taki got any more than Hicks.
Taki got $6 million. Yeah. Hicks got $8 million.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? Totally off topic. 1 second.
Yeah.
Wonder what JOK is going to get next year. JOK's up next year, right?
Well, it's fascinating because his first couple of years, his first year he was okay.
Yeah.
His second year he was awful. And his third year he was excellent.
If he puts up another year,
then they got to pay him.
Yeah.
Are they going to be the ones that pay him?
I don't know.
It's
not, there's not a lot of linebackers, like true linebackers, that are getting big money. Right. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, the last one I seen get big money took his team to the AFC title game. Roquan Smith.
Yep. Yep. All right.
JOK could be an extension candidate too. I mean, there's a good chance.
Right.
That before next season.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They extend him during the season.
That's possible.
See how he plays. If he starts off hot, try to get him before he has another monster year. Maybe it's a slight discount, but after what he did last season, I'd be shocked if he doesn't get a pretty significant
You never know.
raise.
As we said, the Browns have not spent significant money at the linebacker position. Listen, how about this? We got breaking news here. Joe Mixon not cut. He's traded to the Texans. I'm sure the Bengals didn't get much in return. Do we know?
No compensation yet on the return.
Joe Mixon traded to the Texans. That's a good move for the Texans. They didn't really have a running back.
Shaq Barrett goes to the Dolphins.
So where is Derrick Henry going to end up? It's still Baltimore. Still makes the most sense, or Dallas?
Dallas.
Yeah.
You think he'll end up in one of those spots? All right. Let's talk about. So the Browns, until the Jameis news broke this, just as we were starting the show, Hicks was the only addition the Browns had made, but they have brought back two of their own free agents. And the one that kind of, I guess, surprised me a little bit, maybe, I don't know, I'm curious what you guys think. Davis, we'll start with you. Za'Darius Smith, let's begin with him. For whatever reason, I thought they were going to let him walk. When in terms of sacks, his production's been down since the middle of the 2022 season. He had 9.5 sacks the first half of the 2022 season. He's had 6 sacks total since the middle a year and a half. But you look at some of the advanced statistics on him in terms of pass rush. He's not good against the run. In terms of the pass rush win rate, all these things, he graded out pretty well in those things. He's getting a decent amount of money, a little raise, and it's a 2-year deal. What do you think about bringing Za'Darius Smith back?
Well, before I get on Za'Darius Smith, let me say this. Did you know the Browns have an infatuation with Heisman-winning quarterbacks?
Do they?
RG3, Baker, Jameis, Johnny Manziel. Anyways, Za'Darius Smith. The thing, what I like about although Za'Darius Smith wasn't productive from the stats standpoints last year, Miles had one of his best years.
Yeah.
What I liked about Za'Darius when they got Za'Darius is that he changed Myles Garrett's from a maturity standpoint. You know, Myles Garrett was running around Berea like, I'm that guy. You know, I'm that, like, who's going to tell me what to do? Za'Darius did. You know, remember, it was a drill that they did. It was a get-off drill or something like that.
Yeah.
And Myles kind of did it lazy. He said, get back down there, we're going to do it again, like that type of thing. He challenged Myles. Myles, in his mind, thought, I got to get to the ball because Za'Darius Smith is good enough to get there. So it actually turned Myles up a little bit more. That is something that you hadn't seen in the Browns organization since Myles has been here. So I think that's where his value was, just from a leadership standpoint. I think that he can be productive. I mean, he had some moments where, you know, he was good against the rushing attack. I think the sack numbers will come. I don't know. It's just something about being opposite of Myles Garrett that maybe Jadeveon was right. Maybe they do cater to game plans for more Myles or something. I don't know. But I think he can be more serviceable and more productive than he was last year. Typically, guys year 2 under in the same system is more productive in that system. So I'm guessing they look at Za'Darius and see what he brings to the table, his physical attributes, the fact that he can play inside and outside. You can have a full pass rush defensive line with him in the inside. I think his versatility is why they say, you know what, let's just run it back one more time.
Yeah, no, I think you make a great point. I hadn't really thought about the Myles Garrett part of it that much. It's an excellent point, Jason. It's probably a big part of the reason why they did bring him back. And beyond, like, they had good chemistry, the two of them, whereas Myles and Jadeveon did not have good chemistry, right? Like, Jadeveon complained about it basically when he went out the door.
Yeah.
So I think, what do you think of this move?
I mean, there's a reason Jadeveon's 1 year everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And I hope that this isn't another Jadeveon where you were better off cutting him after 1 year, cutting ties with him after 1 year and moving on. I think when we did a show shortly after the season, I felt like Za'Darius was going to come back.
Yeah.
But the deeper we got into this, I had really talked myself. I saw Chase Young and thought, man, this is a perfect prototypical Browns type of signing.
Yeah.
Young guy with a lot of upside. Give him a 1 year deal. Put him opposite Myles. You know he's going to be young and hungry because he's trying to cash in on a big time deal. Now, it didn't work in San Francisco. He didn't have the impact in San Francisco. I think a lot of us thought that he would. Mm-hmm. But maybe here with Jim Schwartz, I would have rather seen them go that route. But I know, you know, the money, what Chase is probably going to wind up getting is probably significantly more on a 1 year deal than what they paid Za'Darius. Maybe that played into it. Maybe they really do like Za'Darius that much. I don't love this deal at all. I'm sort of mediocre on it because I get a little bit concerned that you should have just cut ties with them after a year.
Of all the things the Browns did in the last 2 days, it's the thing I like the least.
Yeah.
But I don't hate it. Right? But I don't hate it.
No.
You know, I love you guys didn't get a chance. Let's talk about it real quick before we move on to our next thing. You guys didn't get a chance yesterday to talk about the Jerry Jeudy trade. You know,
I don't know about you. I don't love him as a player, but for what they gave up for him,
how do
you say no?
Yeah, like you getting a first round talent for a 5th and 6th round who you wasn't going.
Yeah,
nobody knows what that.
If it doesn't work, he's gone after this year.
And that's the thing. I would not extend him.
No, definitely not.
Not before I see what he does.
That's exactly
right. We ain't doing. Listen, you did that with Deshaun. You just watched Russell Wilson do it.
Yeah.
There's NFL. You should not extend the player before he steps foot on the field and see what he does. Even though, as a former player, I would say we are welcome to sign an extension before we play, just to let you know that. But as a businessman, I don't think you should do that.
You have 2 receivers now entering contract years. So you
got 3.
Well, Elijah, Jeudy, and
Cooper.
Oh, Cooper.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I don't put.
We're not worried about motivation with Cooper.
Right.
I agree with that.
Yeah. I don't put Amari in this class, but with Jeudy and Elijah, you look at them and say, "Fight for my love." Which one of you wants the extension? Which one of you wants the money?
I just think that when you look at Jeudy, it's funny. You go get a guy that's from South Florida, you go get a guy from Alabama who runs really good routes. To me, I think that they brought Jeudy in here in hopes that, hey, Amari Cooper, we love you.
Yeah.
We need you to do one more favor before you decide to ride off in the sunset. Get this guy ready. Yeah. Teach him how to win with the Cleveland Browns. Teach him what you do, what you look for on the field. Yeah. Get him ready. He has all the talent. He's arguably one of the best route runners since you left Alabama. Get this guy prepared for us. Can you please do us that favor? Yeah. And I think that if he can do that, then they'll reward him with the money because essentially he's just replacing Amari Cooper.
Right, and if he's going to listen to anybody, it's going to be Amari Cooper,
exactly.
who's his idol.
Yeah. Exactly.
The reason he went to Alabama.
I think that's all of that played a part.
I think he's got to teach him a little growing up too. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's
you got to teach him not to be just the guy.
And we got a little more breaking news with the Browns guys.
What do we got now?
Nyheim Hines, the returner / running back.
I wanted Jamal Agnew.
Same guy, basically.
I wanted Agnew.
$3.5 million deal with the Browns, according to Adam Schefter. Nyheim Hines, the guy who was most notable for in the game after Damar Hamlin's incident, returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. But Nyheim Hines of the Buffalo Bills is heading to the Cleveland Browns on a 1-year, $3.5 million deal.
He was a good, they're not, by the way, that's it for running back. They're not bringing anybody else in.
No.
Not in terms of veteran. They may draft somebody. Nyheim Hines, if I remember correctly, was a pretty good pass catcher his first few years with Indianapolis. And in fact, I'm right. If you look, he was a rookie in 2018, had 63 catches, 425 yards. In 2019, 44 catches, 320 yards. 2020, 63 for 482. And then his last 2021, he had 40 for 310. And then last year, between Indy and Buffalo, he only played 9 games total, had 30 for 241. That's what he does.
He has almost as many receptions as carries in his career.
Yeah.
Listen, when you look at let's look at this for what it is.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're transitioning more to a passing offense, and you want guys in there. I think that he's going to be the returner, though, to try to get Jerome Ford out. But I got a question.
Yeah.
Let's say Nick Chubb, I hope it doesn't happen. Let's say Nick Chubb either gets released or Nick Chubb never gets back to Nick Chubb. Are you comfortable with Jerome Ford as a feature back?
I'm not.
No.
Not at all.
No.
Even though he's probably one of the best pass catchers we got, out of the backfield.
I mean, I could have Nyheim Hines catch passes. He's better than Jerome Ford at catching passes. He's not that old. How old is Nyheim Hines?
27.
27 according to Pro Football
in a
Focus,
perfect world, Nick Chubb's healthy. I have Nick Chubb for 15 carries a game. I bring in Nyheim Hines as my pass catching back.
So you completely out on Jerome Ford.
Every few series,
for his career, by the way, just a little context to Hines. 1,202 rushing yards, 1,800 receiving yards. He has 10 rushing touchdowns, 8 receiving touchdowns. He has 2 special teams touchdowns. A versatile
he's a returner.
They need a money. Jakeem Grant is gone. I don't know if Protege is back. They need a returner.
What are they paying
Jason, what was your question?
What are they paying?
3.5, I think.
3.5 for 1 year, which goes to the point I think we were talking about yesterday. The Browns were only offering 1-year deals to running backs. They were not going to offer a 2-year deal.
Which is smart.
To anyone.
I get it.
Yeah. I wanted Agnew. I wanted a dynamic returner.
Right.
I wanted a guy that when he's back there, it's like – because we haven't had it. Special teams haven't had a good returner in I don't know how long.
But they've eliminated the return from the game.
Punt return?
Well, not punt. Kickoff return.
What is Agnew's
return punts, Mike?
I'm sure he does.
According to Pro Football Reference, or
is he just a kick returner?
He had he returns punts too.
If you
he
can
had
do
30,
one, you ought to be able to do the other.
Right.
30 punt returns in 2020, 23 punt returns in 2021, 27 punt returns in 2022.
How many of them went back to the house?
He has 2 punt return touchdowns in his career and 2 kick return touchdowns.
The guy's a pretty solid returner, if I remember correctly. He's a very good third down back. So.
I understand that, but it's different. It's different. Listen, I'd have been in special teams meeting. It's different coming into those special teams meetings when you say that's the returner, or you got – this guy's dangerous. We got to make sure we get Agnew is like that. Like he's going to return it, and I just feel like that's when you get to these rosters and you get to the close to the end of the season, you got to find a way to have an advantage over something. And punt returns set you up, or you get a returner that can take like that.
It sounds like he's a decent returner.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm sure he will be. I'm just saying, at what
you think
point?
Agnew was special at it?
I do.
Okay.
He was all-pro at it.
Yeah, right.
He was an all-pro.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just to compare the 2 returning stats, and just looking at this for the first time, obviously I'm not super familiar with either of them, and Mary Kay just confirmed the report if anyone disagreed. But Agnew's returning stats, He has 4 punt return touchdowns, 2 kick return touchdowns in an extra season of play. So 6 kick return, punt return touchdowns versus 4 for.
And has he ever been a part of the passing game in any significant way?
Jamal Agnew, for his career,
he had like some screens.
Has 77 receptions and 5 touchdowns, and he has 33 rushes.
Yeah.
So a lesser offensive player, maybe a slightly
in terms
better
of an offensive player, Hines is better.
Listen,
we're talking lower end of the roster here, but
when Agnew was a rookie, I didn't think he would be good.
Yeah.
Because he played for the Lions, and I played for the Colts, and we did a joint practice.
You thought he was slappy.
And I went against him. He was a gunner. I was a hold-up.
Okay. What is a hold-up for those who don't know?
I was a jammer. I was an inside jammer.
Okay.
So, when you do a vice, the gunner got the 2 dudes.
Yeah.
I was the inside piece.
Okay.
And I was sitting there. This is my second year in the league. I was
fired up.
Yeah, I was fired up.
Yeah.
I was like, please come inside. Please, God, let this man come inside. He came inside.
You knocked him on his ass.
And it was crazy.
One more thing on Hines, by the way, which I did not realize.
Yeah.
He actually did not play last season. He was out all of 23 with a season-ending knee injury.
So it was 22 that he split between.
22 he split between 2 teams. He did not play in 2023. Was out all season with a knee injury that he suffered in a jet ski accident.
Okay.
Tyvus abused that man. I'm watching it.
Let me see that.
The fact that he had the clip at his fingertips and could pull that up like that tells you how many times this man has watched that clip.
I think the only reason you wanted to bring Agnew to come up is so you could brag about this.
Actually, I didn't know who he was until like what?
2 more things real quick.
Damn.
Hines,
Might just
according
cut
to
you
PFF,
right off.
since he entered the league in 2018,
Yeah.
Nyheim Hines, who just signed with the Cleveland Browns, has a 90.5 receiving grade, the 5th highest of any running back since he's entered the league.
Yeah, I part of the reason I know him is because of fantasy football. And, on bye weeks, he'd be a guy you could pick up and hope he'd get 8 catches that week for 64 yards and a touchdown. So he is a guy that, listen, I don't know where he is. He only played 9 games 2 years ago. He didn't play last year. I didn't realize that when I was looking at the stats. I didn't remember that. So he's only played 9 games the last 2 years, so who knows how reliable he's going to be. Let me ask you guys this. Does the fact...
No, he played all 16 games in 2020. He played 9 with Buffalo, 7 with Indy.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mean 2022?
In 22, his last season he played. He
did
play all 16
All right, so he
games.
played and then he missed a whole year last year. Let me ask you guys this. Does this move, the fact that they've signed Nyheim Hines, we knew that, we assume that in free agency they're only adding 1 back. Mm-hmm. Does this lock up that they're definitely going to find a way to bring Nick Chubb, to keep Nick Chubb?
Yes.
I think they probably feel pretty good about it.
Right.
I tell you what, I started seeing some of them deals. Somebody went for $7 million, 1 year, 7. Oh, it was Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
I said,
Minnesota.
Hurry! I said,
Nick,
sign, hurry up.
They're running.
Like,
they would be doing him dirty now if they cut him now.
No, I ain't about doing him dirty, but they give him some. He give him some of their money,
right? But he's coming off an injury. But listen, the bottom line is that $3.5 million guaranteed for Nyheim Hines? Do we know?
It just says a 1 year, $3.5 million. I'm not sure.
I'll tell you, Jason. We all thought they would have to cut down the cap number on Chubb, and they're going to have to cut down the cap number. But if Nyheim Hines is getting a guaranteed $3.5 million, I can't ask Nick Chubb to take $6 million.
What are you giving him?
More than I thought, because everybody's getting more money.
Running backs are getting paid more than I thought that they would.
Yeah.
And so
we haven't seen this in years.
No. So, by waiting, Nick probably earned himself a little bit more money.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think they're going to get nuts.
No. But
no more than 8 guaranteed, I don't think, for Nick.
Bull, I don't know if this helps, but if you take the tweet here, Steve, the exact wording from Schefter is up to $3.5 million.
Yeah.
So
all right, so it's not $3.5 million.
So probably 2.5 or 2, and then some incentives.
All of these are coming from
the agents, so they're going to put the highest number.
Yeah, and the agents want to make it look.
So
as
it's
good
probably
as
like $1 million or $2 million, whatever. But same thing with Maurice Hurst, by the way, which we'll get to in a second. But you're going to have to figure it out. But I at first was thinking, they only have to guarantee him $6 million. But we've seen Tony Pollard get $8 million guaranteed. I know Nick's coming off an injury, but he's a way better player than Tony Pollard.
We'll see.
Saquon Barkley got a ton of money. Josh Jacobs got 3 years for DeAndre Swift, who's had like one good year.
Hey, these guys, their careers are so short. I hope he gets every penny
Oh,
he
yeah.
can. But I'd be surprised if he got more than 8.
But I agree in terms of guarantees.
Yeah.
But I feel like the fact that all these running backs went off the board so quick, and that the only, I think, legitimate starter left out there is Derrick Henry, and the fact that the Browns' one running back they signed is Nyheim Hines, I think we all assumed Nick Chubb would be back, and now I feel even more confident about it. Based on
your
what's
options
happening
is Henry, Madison, Zeke, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Dalvin Cook, A.J. Dillon, and J.K. Dobbins.
None of those guys are starters except for Henry.
What if it's Henry?
I doubt.
How about that grenade?
I'd be shocked.
I don't think it is either.
I hope he ends up on the Cowboys and not the Ravens.
That would be if that's what happened.
Yeah.
Oh,
man.
What a grenade!
Oh my
The
gosh.
whole show would be like,
Man,
what?
Dude, I'm surprised. A lot of Bengals fans are pissed about them now trading Joe Mixon. I don't care.
Who's the back they got?
They got Zach Moss.
Zach-
But they had that kid Chase Brown last year who looked good.
I like Chase Brown over
Yeah, he
Zach
looks good.
Moss.
But if they were pissed about Joe Mixon, what would Browns fans feel about it? It would just be another level.
It would be, that'd be crazy.
All
We'll
right,
talk.
one more free agent I want to hit on that the
Mo
Browns have
Hurst?
signed.
Mo Hurst?
Yes, Mike.
I got to do a read first.
You're like a panic that I'm not going to do Maurice
No.
Hurst.
I
Relax.
just want to make sure we get
All
our
right, go
breaks
ahead.
in because we missed one yesterday.
Yeah.
So I was instructed to make sure we get them in today. 6 o'clock tonight, guys. Ultimate Cavs Show. Myself, Jason. We'll be talking a lot about the late game struggles the Cavs have experienced lately. Also talking about Isaac Okoro, how much he could potentially get paid, and why it's not fair Donovan Mitchell is not eligible anymore for NBA postseason awards. That starts tonight at 6 o'clock with myself and Okay, Bull.
Yeah.
Mo Hurst.
Well, now you got to wait 1 second because I got a little more information on Jameis Winston. I got a text from my guy Max. Max is one of the producers for my podcast. He does the video editing, and he's a huge New Orleans Saints guy because he lives in New Orleans. And this is what he just said to me about Jameis. He said, you touched on it, but Jameis absolutely has become a premier locker room guy. We'll miss him in New Orleans. Some fans and players thought he should have started over Derek Carr last year.
I thought he should have.
So there you go. So that's an endorsement from a big Saints fan, somebody else who's a member of the media. There you go. Let's get to Maurice Hurst, the one guy another guy who the Browns have re-signed. I loved the signing of Maurice Hurst at limited money last year. His contract seems to be similar to what Nyheim Hines just signed for. I think it's like up to $3.5 million.
Yep.
Do we know the guarantee on Hurst? Have we seen
I've
that?
not seen a guarantee yet. Just
But-
up to 3.2.
How many games did he play before?
I think he played 13, I want to say.
he played 13 games
double check
last
it, Mike?
year? No.
Maurice Hurst did play in 13 games.
13 games? Look at
Did
that.
he really?
Now, with Maurice Hurst, it's always about injury. But the fact that he's going to make at most $3.5 million, even if he plays 13 games, he's worth it at that price. He's a good contributor, don't you think?
Yeah, they've done a nice job under this regime of finding guys on the margins.
Yep.
And this is like, it's funny. We may sound foolish 6 months from now, but I like the Hurst signing more than Za'Darius Smith. Like,
You gonna sound foolish for that.
Per dollar.
per
Yes.
dollar
yeah.
spent. I think I really liked Hurst last year. I thought he
Yeah.
fit well in the system. I'm glad that he's back. He was one of the guys when we talked last week that I thought for sure I had him and Takitaki as the two that were coming back.
Yeah.
did too.
I wonder if Shelby Harris ends up coming back too. I never thought it, like there was, I know some fans wanted Christian Wilkins, and maybe the Browns talked to him, I don't know. But it never made sense to me that they would spend huge money on a defensive tackle after doing that last year with Tomlinson.
Yeah.
You're not going to spend $40 million for two defensive tackles. That's not.
I thought that they was going. I thought for sure it would be an edge. I would have liked Christian Wilkins.
Yeah.
But I still would like him. But the edge is the one. But Alex
Daniil
Wright.
Hunter's still out there. He's the best pass rusher left.
Oh, they're not
Are you
gonna do it. They're
well,
not
they're
gonna
not
do it
now.
now.
But are you surprised they didn't go after him? I know he's old too, but
No.
instead of Za'Darius.
Because I feel like I know Daniil Hunter had a really good season, but his grades was terrible. And I don't even go off of the PFF. His grades was terrible. And it's just like, if you're going to go get a guy who's an older guy, just get the guy that's been in your system already. Like, now you got to teach him how to do certain things and teach him how we play around here. Like, just Za'Darius Smith can get those things done. At the end of the day, he can still hold an edge down. But Mo Hurst, I like Mo Hurst in the rotation, especially if they're going to continue to rotate these two defensive interior guys. I think him with his production that he can have, for a guy that doesn't have to be in every time, he's rotating like every 2 or 3 plays. It keeps his body fresh. He can always be 100% when he goes out there, and he gives you something. And clearly the Browns love him. I mean, when he went, they cut him. He decided not to even sign nowhere else. Just to come back to the Browns after the initial 53, because you know that rule. If you're on the initial 53 and you get cut as a vet, you still get your salary. So they cut you and bring you back week 1, that type of thing.
In case they don't want to pay you for the whole season.
Dirty game, cutthroat stuff.
All right, so guys, before we get to the guys let's first look at the guys that have moved on. We've referenced Sione Takitaki quite a bit. He signed a 2-year deal to go to the New England Patriots. Anthony Walker signs, I believe, was it a 1-year deal with Walker?
You go to Dolphins?
I think it was 1 for 8. I'll double check though.
Yeah, he went to the Dolphins, and then Mike Ford, good special teams, 4th corner, goes to the Texans, I believe. So, I know we've already talked a little bit about Takitaki.
The Takitaki one is the most shocking one because of the production he had. I think Mike said he was 3rd in pass coverage grade last year or something like that.
Yeah, he graded in the top 5 in terms of. And you want to be high in this, but passer rating against, catches allowed, and yards after catch after reception.
Yeah, so he had a very productive season, and he was a guy that I just thought continuously got better.
Yes.
The passing attack got so much better because the linebackers finally dropped back in coverage, got in those dig windows, and made the guys put air on it. As a DB, you appreciate those type of things. So I was shocked to see him go because I thought he still had so much room to grow. This would have been year 2 in Jim Schwartz.
Right.
He's already adapted that attitude of Jim Schwartz. I wanted to see how much better he could have gotten. So that one shocks me the most. Mike Ford, the Mike Ford thing, that's one of those things that's under the radar. A lot of people will be like, it's just Mike Ford. Right. But special teams is the big thing, especially when you got a good gunner like him. And on top of that, when Denzel did go out and he stepped in, Odell got him on the thing, but he ended up making a play on Lamar, tackle Lamar, then got the pick. So he has some production coming in, and he brought attitude. That's something that's going to be missed. Anthony Walker, that's my dog. I've been knowing him since the Colts days. We played together in the Colts. He just didn't stay healthy. Anthony Walker's a really good player when he's healthy. He's a great leader, and he does all the right things. But at the end of the day, you can't make the club in the tub, and he just continuously got hurt. But I think he'll bounce back. Hopefully, Miami, he'll get to be able to start as the Mike linebacker, and I think he'll be productive there.
I've never heard that one. Can't make the club in the tub.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. If you like an undrafted or on the fence, all the vets will be like, hey, you in this training room. You can't make the club in the tub. You better get out on that field.
That's really good.
Jason, best guess, was it Takitaki that didn't want to come back or that the Browns didn't want him?
It sounds like the Browns wanted to upgrade that spot. That's the feeling I'm.
Different type of linebacker.
Yeah, and the thing
Hicks is better against the run.
But Taki's best spot was in the middle.
Yeah.
In his time here.
Yes.
And 2 years ago when Walker went down was the first time I felt like Taki really sort of flashed. And then he built on that and had a pretty solid season, a really solid season this year.
Well, I kept telling y'all that they had him at Sam, and I said, no, he needs to be at Mike.
Yeah.
And they finally put him at Mike, and he started making plays. But the thing about him, what I don't know about Takitaki, all that stuff is great, all the numbers is great, but at the end of the day, you need a leader. I don't know if he's a vocal leader at the mic. Like, that's the one thing that because I don't know him. I don't like when he don't come off to me as the guy that's doing the speeches and stuff like that. Like, he don't give you that Ray Lewis speech. And I think at the mic, you got to have that guy. That guy has to be the captain of the defense. And I don't know. Not saying he can't be. I just don't think he was the captain of the defense.
Yeah. Today, Hicks is a better player than Takitaki.
Right.
So from that sense, they upgraded.
Yeah.
But it just feels like there's so much more there with Takitaki, and the arrow is pointing up. I expect him to go on and have a really good career for himself. The Walker thing I was not surprised by. He couldn't stay healthy.
Right.
So that was the least surprising of all the guys that left.
As we look, it's been, just about 24 hours since the tampering period began. We'll add in the trade for Jerry Jeudy.
Mm-hmm. They need to get Jerome Baker.
Overall, how you feeling about the first, 24, 48 hours here of what the Browns, how you feeling about, what they've gained, what they've lost?
They haven't made. Well, I guess Jeudy's a splash.
Yes.
In free agency, they haven't really made a splash, which I don't know that I'm really surprised by.
Right.
I think that they've made very sound, strategic, financially responsible moves. Is that
that's true?
To me, when you look at the Browns, it wasn't like they were missing a lot.
That's right.
Like, the team was a good team.
Yes.
And they showed you how good of a team they could be. When the quarterback went down, the next man up was still really good, and they built really good depth. So I think that a lot of these free agents that was coming up, they were all like, it doesn't matter because it's like the next guy's already been groomed, so they're comfortable with the next guy going in there. Like, even if they didn't get Za'Darius Smith, Alex Wright had a productive end of the season. Like, it's just so many things. At the end of the day, number 4 has to play. It comes down to
we
that.
can talk about all this other stuff.
At the end of the day, as long as Deshaun plays, they already showed you. They showed you last season they have enough to win games, get to the playoffs, and still be successful. They just need that quarterback play that can take care of the ball, that can make plays when it's time to happen. They have some players to do it. Jeudy was a good upgrade at what they had.
Yeah, that was their biggest
upgrade. That was the
upgrade.
biggest thing that we needed.
Yeah.
And we already answered the other question about who's going to play opposite of Miles with Za'Darius Smith.
Yeah.
So they did everything that they supposed to do. Only thing for me is, outside of those two things, I always said I wanted a linebacker. Hicks is a linebacker. Now, I don't know. You might need some pieces behind him. Because
they need some
I
more.
don't know who they.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Diabate.
Diabate.
Isn't Tony Fields a free agent, right?
Like, you need to bring in another linebacker.
Yeah, definitely.
Because linebackers get hurt over the course of the season.
Maybe even
so like, I want my boy Jerome Ford, go Bucks, guy from Cleveland. I'm going ahead and do my campaign in AB. Just go ahead and bring my boy Jerome Ford home. Him alongside of JOK, you got 2 athletes out there.
Yeah.
I might not like it, but I don't care. They got 2 athletes out there. JOK has showed you what he could do. If he could get some of that, Jerome Baker is pretty much essentially the same kind of guy. I think it could be special. And he'll do it because he's from Cleveland. So, he wants to see Cleveland succeed. So he put his body on the line just to see Cleveland succeed. Go Bucks, by the way.
Let's face it, Tyvus, you hit the nail on the head. Everything else is window dressing.
Yeah.
And we've said this a zillion times. I've said it a zillion times. I don't want to hear this nonsense. My man G's been starting to peddle that. We only need Deshaun to be decent. No. Don't give me that nonsense. The Browns didn't give up 3 draft picks plus and pay him all that money to be decent.
Yep.
Yeah.
They acquired him.
Decent.
They had decent. Baker Mayfield was decent. They wanted great.
Yep.
They paid and traded for Deshaun Watson because he was great in Houston. He's got to be great here. If he's great here, the Browns can win a Super Bowl. I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Decent ain't going to get you past the Chiefs.
Decent's not getting you past the Chiefs in the playoffs. It's not getting you past the healthy Bengals in the playoffs. It's not even though they beat them last year. It's not getting them past the healthy Ravens in the playoffs either. Let alone the Bills or who else? All these other teams, the Texans, the Chargers. The AFC is loaded and loaded with great quarterbacks. This division. I mean, if I would have told you 5 years ago that the debate, or 5 years ago, how long has Deshaun been in the league? He's been in the league, 6 years?
2017 was his first year.
Okay. If I would have told you in 2019 that we would be having a debate, who's the worst quarterback in the AFC North, Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson? You would have said, what? That's crazy. But that's how good this division is.
Yeah.
All right? I know you Russell's not your guy, but
will you stop with that? Why do you always say that?
He's an upgrade in Pittsburgh, is he not?
Yes.
From what they have,
absolutely.
Right? 100%.
I think he's in his move to the Pittsburgh Steelers puts him back in the category. First of all, I don't know what it is about him, but he always goes to a team with a really good defense. Denver's defense was really good when he first got there. Obviously, the LOB was the LOB.
And they could run Pittsburgh.
But Pittsburgh can run the ball better. So
let him throw 20 times a game.
He's really better in a better situation. He's got the weapons around him. Yeah. It's a Seattle's-like situation.
Right. And what Russell is good at is not turning the ball over.
Exactly.
That's his strength.
So I think that makes them scary to me.
He's a great fit there. I mean, it's the only division in football where you can make an argument for all 4 teams being capable of double-digit wins.
Has all 4 teams from one division made the playoffs?
We talked about this.
No, that's only been possible since they went to 17 teams.
Right.
17 games because the playoffs expanded. Mm-hmm. But obviously it was,
it was close.
It was close. Bengals finished 9-8, and they were in last place. So Listen, the division's loaded, the conference is loaded. Decent Deshaun is not going to be good enough. If Deshaun's great, the Browns can play with anybody in the league. I believe that. You guys believe
Absolutely.
that?
Yeah.
No doubt. The Browns have a ton of talent.
The biggest thing they did still in the past 2 years was the Jim Schwartz hiring, changing the attitude, the way they look at teams, the way they view teams, the toughness that's happened over there.
Yeah.
That's been the one thing that I felt like been missing. That toughness and that attitude has taken them further than any player has ever done.
That's right. But I do think in the end, the biggest difference right now between their roster last year and now is Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah.
For all his flaws, and he's been a disappointing player in his career,
just a guy.
He's still significantly better than Elijah Moore.
He's just a guy.
And by the way, if I'm the
Smith.
Browns, what do you think of this? I don't know what you guys think of this. Now, maybe the money's going to be too high because everybody's getting overpaid right now. Mm-hmm. If I'm the Browns, I trade Elijah Moore and I sign Tyler Boyd to a 1-year deal.
What are you getting for Elijah? You're not getting
Not much.
Yeah, so what's the point? Just sign.
I still think he's any good.
Just sign him.
Just sign Tyler
But
Boyd.
I want to move on from Elijah Moore.
No, you keep him because injuries happen and Tyler
Injuries,
Boyd's up
competition.
there.
That's why I got Bell and.
No, you want to rotate that position. You always keep a fresh body.
But Elijah Moore, first of all,
Who'd
Elijah
you
Moore
rather
going to be happy as even the third receiver? He complained with the Jets.
Who would you rather
Well,
have,
he should
Elijah
get
Moore or
better.
David Bell?
Elijah Moore.
Okay.
So
But I'd rather have Tyler Boyd than Elijah Moore.
So if Tyler Boyd says he's tired or needs a blow, would you rather David Bell go out there in this place or Elijah Moore?
That's where I'm getting.
Fine. Okay, you keep.
For what you're going to get for Moore, nothing, and certainly nothing compared to what you gave up for him.
And that takes me to our next question, which is like, what? I think. Go ahead, Mike. Do the read, and then we'll get back to it.
Yeah, it's a great question we're going to ask, and there's a lot of guys left on the market who the Browns could potentially have interest in. We'll talk about that after we say goodbye to busted brackets, because FanDuel is letting you bet on every game of the tournament, whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed. It's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets. So, Bo, there's plenty of guys out there that are still available.
Yep.
Some big names out there, too. Of all the guys left on the board, and I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Who's the #1 free agent available you would want to see AB and the Browns sign?
I'm going to give you an answer in a second. Let me tell everybody that former Browns running back Dearness Johnson just re-signed in Jacksonville. I got 2 guys for you, Mike, and they're both have played for the Bengals.
Oh, my God.
Tyler Boyd and DJ Reader. Now, I don't know that the Browns are going to do that. DJ Reader, I just said you can't spend a ton of money on defensive tackle. Now I'm saying DJ Reader. So maybe he's not. He may. I don't know. I thought DJ Reader was going to have to sign like a prove-it contract because he's older and he's coming off a serious injury. So I thought you could get him for cheaper. But because the money's been so crazy, maybe I'm wrong about that. But I like the idea of a 1-year, $7-8 million deal for Tyler Boyd. Now you're talking. And you take a guy from your division opponent. Tyler Boyd, whereas Jerry Jeudy's got great speed, he's a great route runner. What is his struggles? Inconsistency, right? Drops a lot of balls. Tyler Boyd is as good as any player in the league at wide receiver at catching the ball. He's not a dynamic receiver, but he's going to be where you need him to be, and he's going to catch the ball almost every time when you throw it to him. He would be a great second security blanket with Njoku. I mean, man, the Browns would go, if they got Tyler Boyd, again, he's getting old. He had his worst year last year, but he's still a guy that can get you as a third receiver 700-800 yards if they're throwing the ball a ton, I think. So that would be my guy, would be Tyler Boyd. I like DJ Reader, but I think it would end up costing too much.
I should have known you were going to take Reader because that would have been my guy. Was Reader, and there's a point though where the money dries up, and I don't know where that
might be it.
And I think we're getting to that. This isn't like baseball where the top guys can stay out 4 months and sign a massive deal. Like when the money's gone, and it feels like let's wait and see how the rest of the day plays out. But it feels like we're getting down to those margin guys now and the 1-year contract guys.
Right.
If you could get him on a 1-year deal, I would do that in a second. And I just said, I love Mo Hurst and the Mo Hurst signing. But if you compare Reader with Tomlinson in the middle,
oh my God, he is a premier run stopper.
Absolutely,
one of the best in the game.
Put him in the Schwartz system. That would be the guy. That's the guy I'd have a highlight and a circle around.
Yeah.
And who knows? I don't know their priorities and where their money line is. And with all of these deals, we have to see just what the initial report is and what the actual money is very different a lot of times.
Sure.
And I do think that they're going to want to have some rollover in the cap into next year as well. It's the way that they do this. So I don't know how much they have left really to spend or how much they really want to spend. But, man, you talk about being able to injure an opponent by taking one of the best guys.
Yeah, because the Bengals want him back, I think.
I'm sure they do.
Yeah,
Listen, do you know it was a huge difference when he was in the game, when he was out the game? With
his entire Bengals
Nick
career
Chubb was there.
Oh, yeah.
Like when Nick Chubb played the Bengals, when he was in the game, Nick Chubb really couldn't get going. When he was out of the game, Nick Chubb could do whatever he wanted to do. So DJ Reader is definitely the number one guy. Now, if you want to get crazy and you want to do some wild stuff, a guy that you can get, and I don't know how much his price tag is. I don't think it would be much. If you want to get crazy, Jason, now this is crazy.
Hey,
all right?
I root for chaos.
Okay, you could trade Greg Newsome for as high as the suitor he can be, and you could go sign a guy like Jordan Lewis from Dallas, who's a nickel by heart, who's really been productive at the nickel position. And I don't think he will demand that much if you want to do like a 1 or 2 year deal.
Wow.
That's just some craziness talk. So shout out to J. Lou.
And one other guy, so your guy is DJ Reader, though?
Yes.
Okay. One other guy I think is important for the Browns to sign is Corey Bojorquez.
He ain't signed?
No.
What they do?
No, he's a free agent.
Oh, yeah.
They need a punter.
Yeah.
He was really good for them last year. I saw Tommy Townsend, who's one of the best punters in the league, sign.
The punt guy is with the Chiefs, right?
Yeah, the punt god's he got a job.
I just saw a kicker sign, so it seems like it's the specialist up now.
So that would be Mike. You got one that we haven't mentioned.
I like Reader. Hey, Steve, pull back 181 real quick. The graphic we just had up. I just was looking at some of the biggest names left. I understand the Browns probably not shopping in that market, but just there are some names out here that are still available. A couple more on top of these guys. You have Danielle Hunter, Patrick Queen, Eric Armstead, Henry Reader, a few other names, Calvin Ridley, Kendall Fuller, the defensive back. To my knowledge, I mean, if it's happened in the last second, I haven't seen it. Tyron Smith, the left tackle, Chase Young still out there. Josh Uche was a guy at edge I thought the Browns would be interested in. They went with Za'Darius, so he's probably not a possibility. Marquise Brown still unsigned. Darnell Mooney, by the way, signed a 3-year, $39 million deal with the Falcons a few minutes ago. Exact same contract that Gabe Davis got with Jacksonville.
Wow, Gabe Davis and Darnell Mooney, who have not been very productive yet. I mean, think about it. With Jerry Jeudy getting $13 million, he's better than those two guys.
Yes.
It's only
Mike
1 year.
Williams never got released.
He did not, or at least he hasn't at this point. It's interesting. We talked a lot about Calvin Ridley and Marquise Brown. Those guys, usually by 24 hours, most of the big guys have signed.
Yeah.
Those guys must not, because they should get more money than those two guys who signed for $13 million a year. Maybe they're shooting too high. I don't know.
Running back and receiver markets flipped all of a sudden when we weren't looking.
I still think that there'll be some type of big splash because I feel like AB, the Jeudy thing was a splash, but I don't think it was like a kaboom. Like he usually drop a kaboom. Maybe he does trade for like Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack or DeForest Buckner was a guy that they was looking at years ago, and I'm sure he's on the last year of his deal. So maybe he do make some type of trade like.
But
that.
I can't imagine at this point, because they re-signed Za'Darius, I can't imagine them doing something for an end.
True.
You know, they still have Ogbo.
And they still got Alex Wright.
I think they probably said a tackle mate. I mean, in terms of making a splash,
it would be a tackle.
It would be a tackle. Yeah. That would be it. I mean, where else could they make a splash? They're not going to. Are they going to spend big on a linebacker? They're going to sign who's the linebacker?
Patrick Queen.
Yeah, they're going to go big on Patrick Queen. I'm surprised he's still out there.
I am too, because he had a really good year too.
There was reports that he was going to go to Seattle, but and Clowney's still out there. I mean, I guess they could make a splash and sign Derrick Henry, but I just can't imagine that's going to happen.
No, I don't. I was mostly joking.
Yeah, if they sign, Ridley or Marquise Brown or even Tyler Boyd to go with what they've already done, then that would be.
But I don't think they view Elijah Moore like the rest of the world do. Like I don't.
They look at him as a legit third receiver.
I think they look at him as a legit receiver. Period.
Yeah,
because of what they've seen in practice.
I don't mind him as a 3.
Nobody.
I can live with him as a 3. I'd rather have somebody better.
If Cooper was to leave and your 2 recievers next year was Elijah Moore and Jerry Jeudy, would you be okay with that?
No. Now, Jerry Jeudy has a big year this year. I might feel differently because he has potential.
It's just hysterical to me. Look at what they gave up for Elijah Moore, And we're like, yeah, he's a decent third receiver.
Yeah.
And look at what they gave him for Jerry Jeudy, and he's a number 2.
Yeah, that was a...
Elijah Moore going to shock the world this year.
Yeah, he said that last year.
He going to shock the world.
Yeah, we heard about it.
Big season.
We heard about that.
Big season.
We heard about that.
Before we move on to winners and losers, I have a question for you guys real quick.
Yeah.
And it probably means nothing, but it's just curious. So Jordan Schultz was the one who broke the first report of the Winston signing. Jake Trotter and Mary Kay have now reported the same thing, but we haven't seen anything from Schefter, anything from Rappaport, Tom Pelissero. Like, the big national guys haven't reported on it.
On the
Jameis Winston to the Browns, which
I mean,
trust
Jordan
Schultz.
I know he's
Mary
newer
Kay.
to the game, but he's a national guy.
No, I know. I'm just saying, doesn't it feel a little weird, though, that these guys all retweet the same signings?
I know, that is weird. You're right.
They haven't tweeted about Winston, and it probably means absolutely nothing. It feels weird that those three in particular, Rapp, Schefter, and Pelissero, haven't been on top of any additional information on this deal yet.
Well, I mean, is those...
Once again, it probably means nothing. I just find it interesting.
Are those considered like big names though? Like is Jameis like a big name?
Oh yeah.
Like, You think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a legit former
in the
number one overall
transaction
pick.
game?
Maybe the agents and people are starting to go local. They trying to get a local people.
No, that ain't
Well,
it.
Jordan Schultz is national though, and he's not
Possible.
broke yet.
Possible. They showing love.
A lot of times with the national guys, once one gets it, everyone else lets it go. But to your point, Schultz is not in that category of Schefter and Rappaport. Like if Schefter
He's
gets
coming up
it,
a little bit.
Yeah,
He's
but
coming up a little, but he's not in that category.
In the
obviously,
Schefter Rappaport cat. A lot of times, I notice it more in the NBA. If Shams gets something, unless it's just a bomb you can't avoid, Woj will let it go, and if Woj gets it, Shams lets it go. But in this case, that doesn't necessarily apply.
Once again, probably means absolutely nothing. Just thought it was interesting. We're going to talk about some winners and losers from the first day of free agency. Before we do that, did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your requirement thanks to an IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply.
I don't think there's any huge wrestling fans here, but I know there's a ton of wrestling fans out there. And the Browns have just announced that this year's SummerSlam, WWE SummerSlam, is going to be at Brown Stadium on August the 3rd. That's a big deal for wrestling fans.
That had been rumored for a while.
That and WrestleMania, I think, are the two biggest. Do we have any wrestling fans here?
My boy Nathan Zagura will be there then. He's a huge wrestler.
I used to love it. I used to watch it all the time.
When I was a kid,
Yeah,
I was obsessed
I don't
WWE.
watch it.
But
my boys watch it. But
okay,
I'm not
there you go.
into
My
it.
son likes it.
When The Rock was on, I tuned
August
in.
3rd.
That's been rumored for a while.
Yeah, but now
that was
it's the
coming
Browns
in. Now it's
confirmed it.
official.
All right, Mike. So
winners and losers here, Bull.
winners and losers. I mean, it's hard to say winners or losers, but what were the moves, guys, that maybe stood out to you from the other teams? Let's look at the division first of all. The Russell Wilson thing happened a couple of days ago. We talked about it a little before. The Steelers haven't really done anything else, have they?
I haven't seen any significant signing that they have made. Also, the Ravens have lost a bunch of guys. I'm not sure
They've lost a bunch of guys. Who they lose besides Stone?
Gus Edwards is
Well,
left.
Queen's still out there. I guess
Gus
he'll go back.
Edwards, right?
Stone left.
Queen.
Who else? I saw one of the two.
Well,
other
Queen
guys.
hasn't left
Queen's
yet.
still out
I
there.
mean,
He could
Queen's
go
still
back.
out there.
so it's not like they've been ravaged.
I mean, I'm not ravaged, but they haven't brought anyone
Yeah.
in.
So the Ravens, as far as I can remember, have not added anybody of significance.
Except
They
Derrick-
lost Geno Stone to the
Derrick
Bengals,
Henry.
who was
They
good.
gonna get
Gus
Derrick
And they
Edwards
lost
to the Chargers.
Gus Edwards to the Chargers. Who is their running back right now? Justice Hill?
and Keaton Mitchell, the rookie.
Oh, he was good, but they're going to bring in. They'll bring in a veteran.
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
I hope not. But yeah, I'm shocked.
Imagine getting him in this division, seeing him
Yeah.
twice.
Listen,
I mean, it makes sense. Dallas or Baltimore.
Back
for
in the
Derrick Henry.
day, I would be worried. But now with the new Browns and new attitude, they played the Titans last year. He did nothing.
He had nothing in that game.
Yeah.
You're 100%
They lost.
right. Doesn't mean he would have
They
nothing
lost
next
Ronald
year.
Darby
No, because
as
you
well.
got to stop him and Lamar.
Yeah, and you're
which
playing
is
against a
tricky.
much better team.
Yeah.
But go ahead, Mike. What was that?
They also lost Gus Edwards,
Yeah, we mentioned that.
Devin Duvernay,
He's not.
Ronald Darby. So they lost 4 players. So
Yeah, those guys are slappies. Ronald Darby's a decent
Devin
player.
Duvernay was a good returner when he was healthy.
The Bengals have added Geno Stone at safety. They've added Mike Gesicki at tight end.
Zach
They've
Moss.
added Zach Moss at running back. They traded Joe Mixon to Houston. They lost Cheetah Awuzie, your guy, Tyvis.
Cheeto?
He signed with the Titans.
Cheeto go?
Yeah.
Dang.
And then T. Higgins wants to be traded, but the Bengals probably will not trade him.
They ain't trading him.
They got no incentive to trade him unless they get overwhelmed by the deal. By the way, did you see,
that'd be nice.
Did you see this news that you know how they do the compensation draft picks, guys?
Yeah.
So when they originally a week ago put out the list of compensation draft picks.
Yeah.
And they redid them, and the Bengals originally got 2 6th-round picks in compensation. They changed it, and now the Bengals have the 97th pick in the draft through comp. So the Bengals just added the 97th pick in the draft.
Why?
They screwed up. Apparently there was like a clerical error or something when they were, and it got brought to their attention by, I don't know if it was by the Bengals or somebody.
Probably by the Bengals.
And they were supposed to get a 3rd-round pick for Jesse Bates. They didn't get it. There was some mistake. I don't know what happened. So now the Bengals have 4 picks in the top 97. Anyway, so that's it. So
what
are we thinking about the division right now? What the Bengals did, what the Steelers, not much. Russell Wilson.
The Steelers addressed their biggest need.
It was the Russell Wilson and the Ravens so far.
Steelers addressed their biggest need. We'll see what the Ravens, if Derrick Henry lands in Baltimore, that's a massive change for them.
Yeah.
The Steelers just draft well. Like, they always get the right draft picks.
They haven't been as good in recent years.
Listen, right now, they only concerns is the offensive line and the corner opposite of Joey Porter Jr. They get those 2 things. They're just as good as any team in the NFL.
The AFC North is tough as hell. Some of those running back contracts really surprised me, guys.
Yeah.
I don't like the Saquon Barkley deal in Philadelphia.
Oh, I do.
All right.
I think it's a great fit for him. I would put that in the winners category.
Is he from Pennsylvania?
I don't know.
He's from Pennsylvania, yeah.
I would put Barkley in the winners.
I feel like Barkley's been very inconsistent since his rookie season, and he's been very injury prone.
He has been injury prone. I just think he's got more talent around him now than he's ever had.
Is Washington ever going to be good? Is Caleb Williams going to fall to Washington there too?
No, the Bears are taking him 1 overall.
No, the Bears are taking him.
Because Cliff Kingsbury.
Even if the Bears are not going to take him, then they'll trade the pick to somebody else who will take him.
Right.
Yeah. You want to put those running back numbers back.
Yeah, so these are the running back specific deals, and they're not all of them. There's even more than just the 5 I listed here. But Steve, give me 179.
I think there's been 10 running backs that have signed since yesterday.
Yeah, it's crazy, and they're all getting more money than I think we anticipated.
Yeah,
Barkley got 3 for 38 with the chance to earn even more.
The top tier was Barkley and Jacobs, who made over 12. Jacobs getting 12. Barkley getting over 12 a year. Pollard got $12 million a year. You left out DeAndre Swift, who's bigger than Moss and Eckler.
Well, those were 2 that we didn't talk about yesterday. We talked about Swift on the show, which is why, for the sake of this. There's more than that. And Pollard was a 3-year, not 2 years.
Oh, okay. Pollard's getting $8 million a year. Swift's getting $8 million a year.
Right.
Eckler's getting $6 million a year, coming off a terrible season.
I got a fantasy question for you. You
Yeah.
taking Barkley in your fantasy?
It depends where I'm picking. I'm not a huge Barkley guy.
If he was like,
but I agree with Jason. He'll be better in Philly. I don't trust him to stay healthy.
If he was in this, would you take him in the first 2 rounds?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Yeah.
First 2 rounds.
No. He's in Philly. They're going to tush push. He's not going to get no touchdowns.
Yeah, but he may score touchdowns.
But Kelsey retired too, and he was kind of the key to the tush push.
What's that?
Jason Kelsey retired.
Yeah, Kelsey retired.
Think they're going to stop doing the tush push?
No, they're still going to do
it. Not, but it might not be as effective.
You draft Saquon, you're going to be upset that he get like 4 touchdowns on the season. I had Swift last year, so I know.
If you have a center that's not as good, it might not work as effectively.
He won't get goal line, but
he's going to get them all the way down there.
I don't think they're going to do it as consistently as they have in the past.
Yes, they will.
I think, what did you think about these big defensive line contracts? Like, the Giants traded for Brian Burns.
Ooh, they gave him a bag.
I mean, some of those contracts were.
Christian Wilkins got $85 million guaranteed.
Yeah, he got like 80. Money. He got 80% of his contract.
What's Kirk Cousins' guaranteed money?
120, wasn't it? 120 of
them.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback.
He is. I like him.
I don't know why people crap on him. Well, people crap on him because he hasn't won in the playoffs. But we know plenty of other quarterbacks that haven't won in the playoffs. Now, he's been around longer.
Did a whole thing on Twitter or X yesterday talking about he's 78, 70, and 2 as a career quarterback.
Who?
Kirk Cousins.
Who did that?
Plies. He's a rapper.
I don't know.
Of course you don't. Of course you don't. But he did this whole thing on the fact that he's 78, 70, and 2 as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Why is it that why is Atlanta fans supposed to be happy to have him?
Because if
he's 1-4 in the playoffs.
To judge a quarterback solely on his win-loss record is stupid.
He's 1-4 in the playoffs, and he lost to the Giants in the first round.
Hey, listen, he didn't lose. He played well in that game. The defense played like crap. Listen, he hasn't been good enough in the playoffs. We'll all agree with that. Are there 10 quarterbacks better than Kirk Cousins? Are there 12? I don't know about that.
Is Brock Purdy better than Kirk Cousins?
I'd rather have Brock Purdy because he's younger.
Tua better than Kirk Cousins?
Right now, today, to win one game, I'd rather have Kirk Cousins than Brock Purdy.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess it depends what team.
Yeah. I think Kirk Cousins today is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Now, you're right.
He hasn't
Purdy's
proven
younger
it.
and he's got more runway.
Right. I think Kirk Cousins has been overly maligned for playoff losses, where there's a lot of quarterbacks who haven't won the playoffs and they don't get crushed as much. So anyway. Anything else, Mike? Is there any other big move?
I wanted to ask you about Cousins and some of the other quarterback contracts. Now, we know Winston can make up to $8.7 million according to the reports.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins got 4 for $180, about $45 million per. We saw a guy like Gardner Minshew get 2 for $12.5. Brissett got $8 million. Are all
Minshew,
these numbers?
He's getting $12.5 per season.
Say it again?
Minshew's getting $12.5 per season.
Yeah, 2 years, $25 million. Did I say 12.5? Sorry. 2 for $25.
Yeah.
I want to phrase this properly. Are all these numbers just a reflection of the salary cap jumping so high?
Yeah, 100%, because numbers are up across the board at every position. It's not a quarterback thing. It's not a running back thing. It's at every position
So
thing.
my next question on that is you look at running backs specifically and offensive guards, because a bunch of offensive guards yesterday
paid big time.
got paid. Robert Hunt got $100 million. A few teams, Lloyd Cushenberry's the center, but he got $50 million. A couple of these guys got paid. These are positions that typically don't get as much money on the open market. Safety, guard, running back. I don't know if it's because the salary cap jumped so high, but those kind of guardrails seem to be out the window this year.
Although Geno Stone didn't get paid a ton of money, I think his number was a little low. But most of the contracts we saw yesterday seemed to be higher than I think we all thought they were going to be.
That's cap related.
Yeah, the cap is the biggest jump in cap in the history of the NFL. So that's it. I don't think this. What else could it be?
I'm not sure if teams are just looking at certain positions in a different light.
I don't think
we actually
so.
value a running back, or we value a guard or a safety.
No, I don't think so.
I tend to agree with you. It's cap related.
I think the running back thing is the cap, and part of it is it's the best crop of free agent running backs we've seen in forever.
Or you look at the teams, and you got Green Bay, you got a young Jordan Love, so let's take some pressure off him.
Yeah.
He's a productive player. Tennessee, you got a young quarterback in Will Levis.
I don't know why Washington added Deckler. That
Washington, you got nothing.
Yeah.
And Zach Moss, he got about what you thought.
Here's what I'll say about the running backs. The running backs, compared to players at other positions at their quality, are still way underpaid.
Yeah, I always look at, when I see running backs go, I look at who the quarterback is. If they got a quarterback that's like Patrick Mahomes, he don't need Saquon.
But my point is, we're like, the running backs got paid more than we expected, which is true.
Yeah.
But in the end, the Saquon Barkley of wide receivers is getting $25 million a year. He got 13 or 14, whatever it was. So I think all those running backs got probably $2 to $4 million more than we might have thought per year, but they're still compared to other skill positions, wide receivers. They still don't get paid for the equivalent talent level.
What was Barkley's deal again? 3 years, 38.
Yeah, I think he can end up making more than that.
Yeah, he could earn up to about.
And Mooney got 3 years. 39.
Right. Darnell Mooney is getting more money than Saquon Barkley. So it's not like the running back market went bananas. It was just a little higher because the cap took a big jump.
Falcons must have some.
Darnell Mooney is what?
They just need defense.
What's Darnell Mooney, the 70th best receiver in the league? At best, he's 50th.
He's with Kirk Cousins now.
I don't love Barkley, but he's still top 8 running backs.
What do you think about?
Man, I forgot to text Nathan.
What do you need, Tyvus?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Tyvus is on major distraction patrol right here.
Yeah, he's
like lost in the soup.
No,
we gotta get him locked in here.
Go ahead.
What do you guys think that this does in terms of Hollywood Brown, Calvin? Are they $20 million a year players with this new cap jump?
When Christian Kirk signed that contract 2 years ago, I was like, this is the dumbest contract, and he actually played well.
Yeah.
But Ridley and Brown, I think, are both thought of more highly than Kirk was at the time. And again, if Darnell Mooney, who has done nothing for 2 years, I know there's potential there, and the Bears were a crap show, but if that guy's getting $13 million, I don't know. I mean, now listen, though, Ridley's older. He's 29. I don't know, how old is Mooney? He's probably like 26, right?
25. I'll look it up at 25,
25,
26.
And Marquise Brown's, though, he's only 26.
Mooney's 24.
Oh, wow. Even younger.
No. Sorry. 26. He's 20. He's
Okay, well, it's the same age as Marquise Brown.
Yeah, same age as Hollywood.
I think Ridley's 29.
When you look at Hollywood, he's not a number one.
No, but he's a good number 2.
Yeah, who would you think, who needs a number 2 right now?
Darnell Mooney just got $39 million the last 2 seasons combined.
Nothing.
900. No, not even. 907 yards, 3 touchdowns.
2 over 2. I think he had 1,000. Didn't he have right at 1,000 yards in 20?
1,055 in 2021, and then the last 2 years. And by the way, he's played 27 games. 27 games, 900 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Maybe they waiting to sign tomorrow. I don't know. They playing the
And by the way,
numbers game.
Can we stop? Some of the members of the media are. If this is out of pocket, they're here. Okay.
You got your nerve.
What do you think about talking about?
You say you be out of pocket too.
For what?
I can't think of none off the top of the head.
All right.
But
next time call me on it in the moment, and we'll discuss it.
Go ahead.
But let me say, all these reporters that are ripping the Falcons for saying they didn't want to pay Lamar Jackson, but now they're paying Kirk Cousins. That is so stupid and disingenuous. It's not an apples-to-apples argument. First of all, I know a lot got made that nobody apparently offered Lamar a deal last year. Well, don't you think the reason nobody offered him a deal is because of the fact that everybody assumed Baltimore would just match it? And it wasn't. Listen, it's easy to say now, I'd give up $200 million and 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson. But he had been coming off 2 down seasons, and we've seen other quarterbacks that were run-first quarterbacks fall apart due to injury. So it wasn't crazy that nobody went after him. Of course, you'd rather have Lamar Jackson than Kirk Cousins. Now, it's easy to say that. He's younger, and but at the time it wasn't a no-brainer, and it certainly wasn't likely that, if the Falcons had offered him a contract, the Ravens were going to match that. There's no way they were going to let him go.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's disingenuous for reporters to insinuate things like the Falcons are racist because of that.
Well, that's
ridiculous.
Just
not right. That's the insinuation. That's the insinuation. Listen, race is a part of many conversations, and certainly there's racism within sports. But we can't, to insinuate that in this circumstance is ridiculous because it's not an apples-to-apples
They were in on Deshaun until the end.
What? Desmond Ritter's black.
I know that. That's
what are you talking about? What is they talking about? That doesn't even make sense.
Nobody's saying it's one of those things where nobody's saying it flat out, but that's the insinuation. I wonder what changed. Well, part of what changed is Lamar was mediocre for 2 years, and last year played like an MVP again.
No, like I said, the Ravens was never letting him leave.
Of course not.
Why would you do that?
And disingenuous people to make that argument.
Who was the top quarterback in the draft last year? Oh, CJ and
Stroud.
Yeah. Okay, I guess they wouldn't. I don't know if they would have. No, because the Falcons picked lower than that, and they took Bijan at 7, so they wouldn't have.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been able to get him.
No, never mind.
No. There's no way they were letting him walk.
Now Carolina, that's different. Carolina probably should have made the trade.
They should have tried to sign him, right? But they were thinking we got the first pick in the draft. Right. You're not going to give up the first pick in the draft in that situation. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, we were going to have Cody Roark on from Locked On Broncos to talk a little bit about Jerry Jeudy, but he had to reschedule due to some Broncos news, so we will not have Cody Roark on. So we got a little bit of time. I got a question for you, Bull. We were going to talk about this a little bit, and then we had all the new information come in, so we stopped, and we were talking about pre-show. We gave Andrew Berry credit for being an aggressive GM yesterday. Now, in free agency, he tends to be more patient. He tends to see the market, let it unfold.
No, he doesn't. Not in the past.
Yeah, he's been pretty aggressive in the past.
What's talking about?
Tomlinson wasn't a day one signing last year.
Go back. Austin Hooper was an immediate signing.
Yeah.
Conklin was an immediate signing.
Yes.
Okay, that was pre my time here, so I'm talking about what I know.
When did they trade for Za'Darius?
When did they sign Tomlinson? The second day?
Second or third day.
Wasn't that later?
But it was after Hargrave and Draymond Jones.
They still paid him big money. That's not being.
Well, just my point is, and maybe I'm doing a bad job explaining the question. We gave him credit yesterday for being aggressive.
Yeah.
And at least in the last 2 seasons, his approach to free agency was, let the market set itself. I'm not going to go make one of these first deals. And I guess maybe in the past he did, so I apologize. That was pre me working on UCSS. Do you agree with the strategy of letting the market play itself out and not overpaying for guys because you're the first to market?
I don't agree that he's had that strategy.
I think his strategy was what you got to do is you got to block out the noise. You got to really assess your own team. You can't listen to the outside noise. You look at your team and you say, what out there does this team need to get me to the next step? Because we were a really good football team. We overcame a ton of injuries last year. We were so close. What is it that this team is missing? You look at it and you say, well, we didn't have Nick Chubb, we didn't have Deshaun, and our wide receivers wasn't that great. Nick Chubb comes back, Deshaun comes back, and you make the trade for Jerry Jeudy. So you address the 3 major concerns that you needed right off the bat, just from 2 guys getting healthy again. The Jerry Jeudy, you addressed that already.
Right.
Everything else, you're just looking for rotational pieces. We already don't value the linebacker position, but you end up getting a veteran guy in there. You re-sign some of the guys that you already had. So I don't know why he needed to be. What move did he need to be aggressive for?
I don't buy your premise at all. First of all, you can't separate trades from free agency. It's all the same. To say he's aggressive in trades and not in free agency doesn't make sense.
I didn't say he's not aggressive in free agency. I just said he's not out there because they were reported to be linked to Christian Wilkins. It came out they weren't willing to offer that much money. It came out they weren't willing to offer 2 years.
We don't know if any of that is true, Mike. That's just reports. Nobody knows.
That's just going off the information we think we
I know that, but
as a GM, you have to do your due diligence. You have to go out there and at least see what he wants. Because you need a defensive tackle. Christian Wilkins is available. You're gonna see what you could do.
If they made an offer to Christian Wilkins, even if it wasn't the amount he ended up signing for, that's not. Like this idea that he's being patient and waiting, like they have overpaid guys.
Compared to top, like they offered last year, Draymond Jones said Seattle offered more money. That's why I'm going to Seattle.
Right.
He would not take.
Did he say that? I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's why I said they were the final 2 teams. He took the money.
But they overpaid Dalvin Tomlinson.
They were in on Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave got more money from San Francisco. He went to San Francisco.
Right.
With Christian Wilkins, I don't know what the offer was.
Right.
But he was one of the teams that everyone said linked to the Browns talking. He got a massive bag from the Las Vegas Raiders.
But you're making it seem as if the Browns have never signed a contract where we're like, well, that's an overpay, and they have a number of times.
I'm saying in this instance, at least looking at the last 2 years, which I have been more familiar with as someone who's worked in the Cleveland market now, and granted, Austin Hooper.
But again, I would argue that Dalvin Tomlinson was overpaid last year. Do you guys disagree?
It was an aggressive
That's
signing.
an aggressive signing
But
on Dalvin Tomlinson.
It goes back to what Tyvis said earlier, that they don't have a ton of pressing needs, where defensive tackle was a head wound last year. And what did they do? Dalvin Tomlinson on day one, on day one, but it was a day one signing of big money. In the past, they had glaring needs. Jack Conklin, I know before your time, but Jack Conklin.
Yeah.
What was the other one I just mentioned? That was
Austin Hooper.
Austin Hooper.
Which I loved at the time, turned out to be an awful move.
And they were like, there was a ton of holes on that team back then. Now, there's not this gaping head wound at any real position, so there's no need to go
there was at wide receiver too when they addressed it.
Yes, but it wasn't. What was a worse position? Where they were with defensive tackle last year?
Way worse defensive tackle.
Way worse.
It was just a moderate head wound.
Yeah. This just needed a couple sutures and they were fine.
Yes.
But the point is that there wasn't this overwhelming massive black hole at any point of the roster, so there's no need for it. Right. And also, let's wait and see what the final numbers are on how they've got the Jameis contract structured. Yeah. They're spending $70 million at quarterback. You have 64 on Deshaun, which hasn't been restructured and looks like it's not going to be, which goes back to the conversation we had the other day. And Jameis, I would imagine the cap at least has to be $3, $4, $5 million minimum this year. And we'll see what the final numbers look like. You're spending $70 million on your quarterback. It does hamper the type of big dollar deals that you can do in free agency.
And ultimately, this idea and what's happening here, Mike's getting frustrated. I hear Earl in the background.
No, listen, I'm trying to get you to this point.
You guys are trying to peddle this Andrew Berry is a genius narrative. Like Andrew Berry, like he's playing checkers and everybody's playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers because he's sitting and waiting. And if the Browns had made an aggressive move, we'd say, oh, look at Andrew Berry. He got out there and be aggressive.
This is what I was trying to get you to, because we talked about this pre-show. I'm
Yeah.
on the same page. I'm probably actually on the same page as you. I was just coming at it from a different approach. We looked at, and I don't want to call out names here, but one person in particular on Twitter who I very much like was all aboard, pay Christian Wilkins whatever it takes. And then when he got paid a lot of money, it was, too much money.
Right, of course.
And my point is, and I was asking the question more than making the statement, does he get the benefit of the doubt both ways? That's more of what I was trying to get to.
So I think that is a good question. I am to the point with Andrew Berry where I feel like I'm not giving him blanket immunity, but I feel like he's done overall a good job, and I'm willing in most cases to give him that. That doesn't mean we can't be critical.
Right.
We were talking about you and I especially don't love the Za'Darius Smith move.
Right.
I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't like. If you get to the point where you're a media member and you can't be critical, you can just say, "Well, I trust him no matter what, so I'm never going to be critical."
I think
that's a loser mentality.
I
trust him.
I used to be very critical of him up until last season. Last season, between him and Kevin Stefanski, what they did with what they had and how they built that roster, I said they seen something that I didn't see. They made little small free agent signings, little backup roles, get some special teamers in there, and all of those pieces turned out to be significant over the course of this season.
Right.
I look at a GM about how he builds his roster. Everybody looks at, just the top guys. I look at the guys that's maybe second and third team, because what you don't realize is injuries is a part of this game. That next guy that fills in, do we notice that guy is there? We didn't really notice that.
In a lot of cases, we did.
And that is a good GM that can go see talent. Maybe he's not a starter right now, but he gets behind some guys. He gets in this building. He learns some stuff from some of these players. He can develop into a guy that we can use later on if this guy goes down. So I think they built their roster in such a way that I don't really question what he does, because, like I say, he has such a good year. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, so to speak.
And listen, ultimately, as you'll be judged on what you do in the playoffs. Everybody is, right? Quarterback, coach, GM. And in 4 years, this team has won one playoff game with this regime. So we can't act like we've arrived and Andrew Berry's some superstar GM.
Is the Chiefs and the 49ers, have they made any big moves?
No. Nothing comes to mind.
That's what I'm saying.
49ers signed a defensive end, Yatur Gross from Carolina.
I mean,
to replace Chase
the Chiefs lost their punter.
If you're relying on free agency to build your team in the NFL, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Free agency should be
the finishing touches.
It should be where you're deficient, where you missed on a draft pick.
Yeah.
And we blew it here, so we have to go sign this guy until we can find someone else to develop to fill that spot. But if you're consistently shopping in the high rent district in free agency, you're not going to have a very good or healthy team. So it's not surprising that the Chiefs and Niners
I think Andrew Berry, especially as you like to say often, Jason, in the margins, has been excellent.
Yeah.
Overall, his drafting is at best mediocre.
Yeah.
It hasn't been great.
I agree. I think he's gotten better, though.
He's gotten better. I want to stick with him. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying fire him. I'm not saying he's bad.
We ain't there.
I'm just like, let's not put him in the Hall of Fame, is all I'm saying.
Sure. No.
He's got a lot more to prove.
He got to get the
I like where he's headed. I like where Stefanski's headed. They got to keep doing it and you can't keep blowing it on these wide receivers. The reason you have to trade for Jeudy and trade for Elijah Moore is they kept blowing it on draft picks at that position.
Yeah.
And if you do that in too many spots, then eventually it becomes a problem. They've done a good job, but anyway, I'll leave it. I'll let it go now.
But it's a good point that I think he had a really good draft last year. A really good draft. Like, what am I missing?
Tillman, Dewan, Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Well, here we go.
Isaiah McGuire,
Luke Whippler, Cam Mitchell.
I mean, when you hit on,
them all is some
here we go.
Good picks.
Here's the Browns' picks, and remember, they didn't have a first or second round pick,
right?
But they traded. They used that for something else. So in the third round, they drafted Cedric Tillman.
We don't know.
Contributor.
We don't know.
It's not. I can't call it a win.
No, not yet.
Their second, third round pick, Siaki Ika. So far, that's not.
We don't know.
Can't tell. That's a good thing you can't tell because they had good players in front of them.
But if you draft a guy in the 3rd round, you hope he plays well enough to force himself in there.
You hope by the end of the year he's
especially when they had a lot of injuries late in the season.
Yeah, by the end of the year you hoping that he's rotating in. Especially at
I have more hope for Tillman than I do Ika at this point.
I did too.
Right?
Yeah.
Is that fair? 4th round, DeJuan Jones.
That's
a home run. That's a home run pick.
Dorian Thompson. Right.
Also 4th round, Isaiah McGuire.
We don't know.
He got hurt,
Incomplete.
right?
He played very little at the end,
Yeah.
but I believe he had a sack against Cincinnati
I think you're right.
in the Week 18 game.
5th round pick, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Looks like a good developmental quarterback.
Yeah.
Looks like a solid pick for 5th round.
Yeah.
7th pick, Cam Mitchell. That's a home run.
Yeah, that's a good.
I'm sorry, it skipped here. 6th round was Luke Whippler.
That's a good pick.
To be determined.
Yeah,
Seems like he's if nothing else, a fine backup lineman, which at the 6th round is fine.
Go Bucks.
And Cam Mitchell for a 7th round pick. That's a big
Mitchell was
hit.
a 5th rounder.
So yeah, I mean,
And you got Ronnie Hickman, undrafted free agent.
and Ronnie Hickman undrafted, which was a nice pick.
I mean, these guys, and Barry was a defensive back in college, and so was Kevin. I don't know. These guys are phenomenal at finding and developing and drafting defensive backs or signing defensive backs. They've really knocked that out of the park.
Yes, they have.
Now, that could only transfer to other positions. But the point I was making was maybe a year from now we're going to look at that list and say there's a bust. There's a bust.
Right, yeah.
But right now, I mean, 1 year into Anthony Schwartz, you're like, oh, my God, that's a bust.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that we think is a bust now. I just think that the more time and experience you have at doing something, you're going to get better at it. And that's the point I made before,
That's right.
is that they turned over regimes so much, nobody ever had a chance to learn from their mistakes.
That's true.
And these guys have been afforded the time, and now I think you're seeing the proof and the benefit of this didn't work, this is what we can learn from this going forward, and you've seen the progression, and you've seen these guys get better at their jobs. Hopefully I'm better at my job now than I was my first time doing it.
Right.
And that's just nature with all of this stuff. But you have to give them time. You have to let them make mistakes. And they've finally done that and they did make mistakes early on. And we can circle all the picks that they really blew early on. But I'll tell you what, it's getting better and better and better.
And that's why they both should get extensions.
Yes, I can't believe it's
silly that it
shameful
hasn't
it
happened
hasn't
at this point. I don't know what they're waiting for. What's going on
That's
with
a
Jimmy?
good question. I don't know what they're waiting
It's got to be that Jimmy hasn't made the offer, right? Not that they're refusing to take it. I don't think.
Well, Kevin probably said 2 times Coach of the Year.
That's why I wrote halfway through last season, extend him now. Because guess what? The price just went up.
Yeah.
He didn't care. There's no cap on coaches, and he's got plenty of money.
Yeah.
But the price is going up.
It's weird that they haven't been signed.
Yeah.
Very weird.
Yeah.
All right, Mike.
Something from Adam Schefter real quick, which is interesting. We mentioned Calvin Ridley's name a few times.
Yep.
This is a quote from Schefter. New England is pushing hard to sign free agent Calvin Ridley, but sources... Oh, breaking news from even more breaking news. This is more
Derrick
important.
Henry, Ravens.
Derrick Henry to the Ravens.
You knew it was going to happen. Wait, we got to make sure this is real Adam Schefter.
It is the real Schefter.
It is. You got to put
2
this on
years,
text alert.
$16 million deal, worth up to $20 million, $9 million guaranteed in the first year with the Ravens. Derrick Henry officially.
I mean, you had to know that was going to happen.
It's a tough division.
We said it yesterday.
It made too much sense.
You knew it.
Yep.
I mean, is there a more perfect fit than Derrick Henry and the Ravens?
You know what though? You know what about this? You know what I like? Well, what I don't like that. That's crazy. But it does make you think about defensive tackle more now.
Yeah.
Make you think about maybe they will make a trade for, like I said, my boy DeForest Buckner, Defoe. I played with him in San Francisco. Really great guy. Does a really good job of stopping the run, and is a good pass defender as well.
Steelers can run the ball. We know that. Ravens now. Who's the Bengals back now?
Zach Moss,
That's right.
Chase Brown.
Yeah. So
Gosh, you got to shove that middle.
I'd rather see them.
They're all big backs. All the starting backs in the AFC North are kind of not tall. Zach Moss, I don't think he's that tall, but he's kind of a thick back.
Yeah.
I'm not big on Zach Moss.
According to Spotrac, and once again, Spotrac's not perfect, the best available free agent defensive tackles left. I'm going to just read you the names. You guys
DJ Reader's got to be one, right?
Reader's one, yeah. I'll read you the other ones outside of DJ Reader. Tell me if any of these guys are worth at least talking about.
You got to get them.
Tier Tart's on the list.
Yeah, he's good.
Fletcher Cox, who just retired.
He ain't unretired.
I don't think, but he did play for Jim Schwartz. Him and Jim Schwartz were super tight.
Yeah,
maybe
he's
Jim
retired.
I
don't
don't think so. Austin Johnson, unfamiliar.
Never heard of him.
Is he from Penn State?
He's 29 years old, played for the Chargers last year. I'm not familiar.
Never heard of him.
Tim Settle.
Not good.
I think that might be the dude I worked out with.
I mean, you don't know defensive tackles that well outside of a few guys. Who's next?
Tim Settle, who I covered at Virginia Tech.
You gotta go all out.
He's a run stuffer. He's like 330 pounds. Giant guy. Shelby Harris is still sitting out there. Taven Bryan. Quentin Jefferson, Bull, who you mentioned.
You said who? Quentin Jefferson?
I don't want Taven Bryan again. He sucked here the first time.
No. You mentioned Quentin Jefferson.
Oh, I played with Quentin Jefferson with the Seahawks.
Wasn't he on your list of guys and your ideal free?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I played with him.
I thought you meant I mentioned him today.
I remember
about that already.
Q about knocked the fan out in the stands when he was with the Seahawks. We played.
Wasn't he with the Jets or the Giants last year?
Jets,
right? Yeah.
A couple other guys: Sebastian Joseph, Al Woods, who at least visited the Browns last season. Linval Joseph's older.
Yeah, we're getting down to
Raekwon Davis, Jonathan Hankins.
To me, it's got Babyface. I know Jonathan Hankins.
And one more name. How about Jordan Elliott?
Oh, yeah. I guess
I'll tell you, if I'm the Bengals, I'm getting DJ Reader signed.
I'm telling you.
And if I'm the Browns, I'm getting DJ Reader signed.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, and I haven't run the numbers.
Yeah.
But we won't know until we see the contracts where their what the Browns' cap situation is right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well,
they could always
do
some.
They better get Eco ready.
Renegotiate. What's the word I'm looking for? Not renegotiation. Restructure.
Well, I mean, they've got plenty of money, but I'll be curious to see how some of these deals are structured.
And I'll be curious to see what happens with Nick Chubb's contract. You'd think that's something
a big piece.
would happen with that in the next few days. But yeah, if you're just joining us, Derrick Henry just broke a couple minutes ago. Derrick Henry signing with the Ravens. It's so funny. It kind of felt inevitable the whole time that he was going to end up with the Ravens.
It was one of those free agent and destinations that seemed on paper so perfect.
Yeah.
And most of the time in those situations, it doesn't come to fruition. Right. But from player, from personality to city description and kind of what they embody, it felt like it was too good to be true. And it stinks because he's a really good player.
Was his numbers still good last year, Derrick Henry?
Yeah, considering how bad the team was, he was pretty good. He's probably got one. So it's a 2-year deal, $16 million worth up to $20.
I thought
he ran for 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns.
I mean, per year, that's still good money.
I thought he would go to Dallas because they were going to try to get the ball out of him.
Who is going to be Dallas' starting quarterback? A running back?
The one dude.
Turpin, who they had.
The one dude from Kansas State. Deuce Vaughn.
We still got a draft to go.
I know, but supposedly the running back class is not very good this year in the draft.
Oh, I say that every year.
It doesn't mean you can't.
You can make one.
Who's the best free agent running back left?
I'm going on
Alexander
Spotrac,
Madison?
which once again I understand is not great. The best available.
Probably Madison.
Madison, Zeke, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Deonta Foreman, who I do kind of like. Cam Akers is still out there. J.K. Dobbins, Kareem Hunt, Rashad Penny, A.J. Dillon.
Is Kareem Hunt going to get a job?
Kareem Hunt's not getting a job. I mean, Kareem Hunt's getting a
Well, I bet
maybe training camp.
I shook Jay's hand right
Benjamin.
there and bet live on the air that he won't take another snap.
No, he wasn't going to get a job last year until the Browns called.
Right.
That boy did him dirty. That coach went out there.
Man, Kareem Hunt could average 0.1 yards per carry, and Jay would love him anyway because he got those touchdowns.
I mean,
he was a contributor.
Hey, Mike, what were you going to say about Schefter before the?
Oh yeah, the other Schefter tweet he put out, which was going back to the wide receiver conversation we were having a second ago.
Oh, Ridley.
Ridley. He tweeted out, New England is pushing hard to sign free agent Calvin Ridley, but sources believe he prefers to return to Jacksonville and has been discussing a deal with the Jaguars. The reason I bring that up is the Jaguars paid Gabe Davis. They paid Christian Kirk a big contract 2 off seasons ago. We talk about how much can you invest in any certain position group. I'm just using this as an example, but investing that much money in 3 receivers feels like a terrible allocation of the cap, even if Ridley's a talented player.
The cap's so big now, though. Is it that much money? Like they paid, who did they sign? Gabe Davis, like $13 million for a wide receiver is kind of like last year paying a wide receiver $10 million.
But I just think, if Trevor Lawrence is that guy, why you need all that?
Well, maybe that tells you he's not.
He wants Operation Stockpile here. Isn't Deshaun Watson supposed to be that guy?
They'll tell you something.
Isn't Lawrence still on his rookie deal?
He is.
Well, that's how.
Well, that's part of it.
Well, then that's how they doing any of that.
I guess I didn't equate that. That makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, right.
Good point.
Right, because all those guys, that Christian Kirk deal's probably got 2 years left.
Well, I guess that's the new thing, though. You just get a bunch of talent and put it on your team at receiver, and then you find out if your quarterback's good. Jalen Hurts did it. Tua did it. The Lions did it. That's like the new thing. Get a bunch of help, and if the quarterback can't get it done, it's them. That's what the Falcons just did.
Right.
Essentially. Except they drafted.
Who's the favorite to win the NFC South now, the Falcons or the Bucs? I think the Falcons.
I got to see the Falcons.
Didn't the Falcons only finish one game back of the Bucs last year?
The Falcons' defense is still, I just don't, Jesse Bates and who else is over there?
I don't know.
What's the corner? They got the really good corner. He's actually really good.
A.J. Terrell.
Yeah, A.J. Terrell. But, who else do they? What about pass rush, linebackers?
Their defense is a little suspect.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what gets me about them.
I mentioned it earlier, but
Kirk just did the same. He went back to Minnesota again, technically.
I am so fascinated by this Justin Fields thing now. I know I mentioned it earlier, but
he's got to be a backup. There's no more starting spots.
But where is he going to go? What's Chicago? Chicago ain't going to get nothing for him now.
No.
Nothing.
No.
And he would be like a Trey Lance type situation where you would trade for him if you're unsure or unsteady about your starter, maybe.
Yeah, but he's actually performed decently at times, unlike Trey Lance.
Agreed, but the situation that he's in, there's nothing else unless it's Denver. What else is there?
Minnesota potentially.
I guess Minnesota potentially.
Compete? Would they trade him in division?
Well, why would they?
No, they wouldn't trade him in the division.
Aren't they drafting a quarterback? Who's the top three? Oh, it's the Patriots.
Patriots will draft a quarterback.
Washington.
The first three picks
and probably Chicago.
In Chicago.
Let's see.
So is there any other team besides Denver?
You could find.
There are teams that will draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
So if he wants to be the bridge guy, but I'm not sure he's in line to be a bridge guy.
I would think if they hadn't signed Tyrod Taylor, I'd say, well, maybe the Jets should trade for him because Aaron Rodgers is old. Minshew.
Oh, that's the.
But he's not a short thing. They paid him like a bottom-tier starter.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Vegas.
But they just signed Minshew, though.
Yeah,
they like that Alex O'Connell kid.
What about the Giants?
But still,
the Giants got?
Oh,
Daniel Jones.
They're probably going to draft the quarterback.
Washington?
They're definitely drafting. They just signed Mariota.
Oh, yeah, they're drafting a quarterback. Yeah. I don't know.
What does Geno have left in Seattle?
They just extended him, I thought.
Yeah, but it's a 1 year, then they can get out of it contract.
If I'm Seattle, I'd look at that. I'd look at that hard. If you can get him for nothing, bring him in, take a look at him.
What are you going to have to give up at this point? A mid-round draft pick?
A fifth or sixth?
Whatever the Browns give.
What did Trey Lance get traded for?
2 fourths.
Whatever the Browns.
I think you'd have to give a little more than that.
Whatever the Browns got from Carolina is probably what Chicago is going to get for Fields at this point, I would think, right? Like, it's a very similar situation.
I guess, you're right.
It's very similar.
I feel like Justin Fields, I'm not a big Justin Fields guy, but I feel like with the right team, there's a lot of upside.
I agree, but Baker won a playoff game here.
Yeah.
And went for nothing.
Yeah.
So,
but that was, I was going to say that was a different situation, but it's not.
It's not. It's
now,
very
maybe
similar.
the Bears will shock us and trade the first pick instead and stick with Fields, but
the feeling I got at the combine was that is over.
That's done.
They're taking Caleb Williams and they're trading Fields.
Well, if you can't even get a 5th-round pick for Justin Fields, why in the world would you trade the first overall pick?
I'm just spitballing.
No, I know.
I'm
just saying, like, it doesn't.
Talking out loud here. I'm just, trying to figure out, but I don't know what they're going to do. He should be starting. There's not 32 quarterbacks better than him.
No, he should be. Yeah. I don't know. It's wild. It's wild.
I think Denver's the one, because Denver can't get one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. They have nobody.
Maybe Denver's the Carolina in this situation.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you're Denver, why wouldn't you offer a 4th-round pick right now?
Yeah, I get it. We got 2 super chats real quick, and then we'll talk cash for the last 5 minutes here. The first one comes from Damian Frederick, who says, Jameis is America's QB. If he brings anything, it's positive vibes and some great memes. Jameis, objectively, is the funniest quarterback in football. And if he comes,
he's hilarious.
He's hysterical. He's hysterical.
He is hilarious. It's like my trainer always says.
Yeah.
What'd he say? He just said, be prepared.
He really is funny. And world's fastest fat man says, draft Tavondre Sweat and destroy all running backs. Free Miles, free Za'Darius, free JOK. T-Sweat is the way. All hail T-Sweat. Funny Tavondre Sweat story. The first story I ever did in Texas was a feature on Tavondre Sweat. So I would really be happy if Tavondre came.
Was he nice to you?
Yeah, his whole family's got a little brother, really good. Cool dude.
I don't know if this is a question at 12:53, but what's the Browns' biggest need right now? Like entering this draft.
Defensive tackle.
I think the Browns are in a great position
to draft
the best player available. I
agree with that.
I think it's a no-brainer.
I agree also, but it's not a glaring need.
No, they'll be fine.
There's really, what position wouldn't you draft with that second-round pick? I mean, you're not going to draft a quarterback this year. But let's say they stay at probably not.
You sick.
Let me rephrase. Let me rephrase. There's probably not a quarterback worth drafting in that spot.
I would agree.
Okay, so if it's not quarterback,
imagine
name another position they couldn't possibly. The idea that they're definitely going to take one position over the other, I could see them drafting any position with that spot, anything with no exceptions.
I see 3 spots: receiver, running back, or D-line.
Running back. I'd be fine with a receiver, by the way.
Receiver, running back, or D-line.
Why couldn't they take a tackle?
I still think receiver is the most.
Why couldn't they take a tackle?
Why would they do that? They got
could.
3 of them.
They absolutely could.
That's just this year, Tyvis. Jed and Conklin are both gone at the end of the
season. You could take a tackle.
And you could address it next year in the draft.
You could take a tackle. You could take a guard. Both your guards are old. You might want to move. If you find the right guard in the draft, and you can often in the second round, maybe you move on from one of your guards.
If they trade Wyatt Teller
you
for
could take
Jonathan
a center.
Allen, then they'll take a
They could take a linebacker.
They're in position for best available player.
The only thing that would surprise me for the Browns in the second round is a corner and a quarterback. That's it.
If they take a
kicker. If they take a kicker.
A kicker.
They take a corner in the second round, then the writing's on the wall for Geno.
Yeah, but a corner and quarterback would surprise me. Even tight end. If there's a guy they love to tight end, I wouldn't be shocked if they do it. I think it's less likely, but any other position, they could take a safety there.
Them 3 positions: running back, receiver, D-line.
We already talked about O-line. You got to take the best player.
You take one of those 3 positions.
Best player.
One of those 3 positions.
We're going to talk about this more in overtime. We'll continue the conversation, but the Cavs lost to the Suns last night. An incredible shooting performance in the first half. It got icy cold. Those late game struggles continued. But Tyvis, what did you take away from the Cavs-Suns matchup from last night?
Well, after Darius Garland blew my parlay by not getting 6 assists, instead getting 5, and then deciding to get 5 turnovers when I had 100,000 on the line and I need you to get 3, you got 1. So I'm about done with you. No, I thought that Darius played well in the first half. He's just got to do better in the end of the game. So it's like they ran out of gas. It's like for some odd reason they start off hot. They let the Suns come back, and the Suns got 3 superstars. I mean, come on, Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal was back. Like it's hard to overcome that. I thought they tried to do enough. They got real close in the end, but at the end of the day, those superstars took over the game, and you just don't have enough firepower for that without D. Mitch right now.
By the way, I'm probably crazy. He's probably been doing this forever, but for some reason it stood out to me yesterday that Kevin Durant basically wears like tights. Whenever he plays.
He's been doing that forever.
I know, but it's just, I don't know why it stood out to me yesterday. It's not weird that he wears,
No.
I think it's a circulation thing.
Everybody.
Sam Merrill wears the exact same thing.
A lot of people do that.
But people that wear, special socks for circulation don't have to wear them all the way up to their hips.
Well, these are pants that go down.
Yeah, these is pants.
Not socks.
These is like quarters.
No, I'm saying, you said
It's called
circulation. There's a lot of people that have to wear circulation socks.
Yeah.
I wear them.
And he's getting really bold there, Durant, no?
Yeah, it's time to let it go. When you get like that,
I don't like Durant. He's my least favorite NBA player.
You know what? He was actually my favorite player until he went to Golden State. The day he went to Golden State, Giannis became my favorite player.
A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people.
I literally used to fight he was the best player.
Yeah.
How I talk about Giannis is how I used to talk about Kevin Durant.
His Q score plummeted when he did that.
Yeah, he wasn't raised right.
I'm done with regular season basketball.
That boy ain't raised right.
Guys, wake me up when the playoffs
You were back in for a week, and now you're back out.
I'm back out. I was watching the game last night. I'm like, it's fun. I was enjoying the game. I finally got Bally's again, so I don't have to do shady behaviors to get the games. Shady behaviors, that sounds way worse than it is. And I'm like, this is so boring. Bring me to the regular season. And then we got guys like Jay and Earl and G who get worked up about regular season losses that have no meaning whatsoever. Donovan Mitchell's not playing. Who gives a rat's ass? Anytime. Here's the rule. If Isaiah Mobley plays legitimate minutes, the game doesn't matter. I mean, isn't that a fair rule?
No. Earl, you want to say? Earl, chime in.
Boy, you got to stop saying who gives a rat ass just because you don't. Just because you don't give a damn about something don't mean the fans don't mean other
whose
media
other
members
opinion
don't.
should I give? Should I give everybody else?
Well, don't say nobody. Say
I
don't.
don't.
Say
I don't
don't care. Say Adam the Boer don't give a rat's ass.
Well, I would assume when I say I don't give a rat's ass.
Now we all know what happens
you
when people assume.
Give a rat's ass.
Well, some people give a rat's
ass out of you and I.
I don't understand why anybody would give a rat's ass because it means nothing. All it means is what seed you're going to end up in the playoffs.
That's important for the Cavs this year.
Is it? Why? They've been great on the road.
Matchups?
Second best road team in the NBA.
I don't know. Let's see. If you had a matchup, if the seeds matter because if you could dictate playing Orlando or playing the 76ers with Joel Embiid comes back.
I don't know if he's coming back. Yes,
Is he not coming back?
No, what I'm saying, Tyvis.
Who? I was texting.
Embiid.
Oh, he'd come back. For the playoffs?
But let me ask you this. What I'm saying is that Earl made the point yesterday that the Cavs have been inconsistent recently, so he's worried about that for the playoffs. And I'm like, everybody's inconsistent outside of Boston.
Well,
10 seconds.
The Cavs,
10 seconds.
The Cavs have to settle on a rotation. They have a lot of questions. This is not a normal inconsistency. They've got issues they got to figure
Mitchell's
out.
hurt, so we'll see it all the time.
Talking about it in OT. Peace.